If the fence rests, let's lay it down. Gonna dig deep, wave that verdict round. The defense rests, time to analyze. With the evidence, we'll unveil the crime. Justice served in an honest fight. True crime tales till the verdict's right. Solving more than just trivial quests, where sentences rule at the defense rests.
Good morning, good morning. I'm not even going to bother apologising again. You guys should know it by now. Add an extra 15 at least. My brain says one thing, and my body goes, not today, not even tomorrow. And the next day you can too. So good morning. I hope you're all well, safe, happy, fed, warm, dry, the lot. Now, this trial has been bitsy. Good morning, sweetheart. Good morning. How are you feeling today? You feeling any better? You poor love. You make sure you get lots of rest and hydrate. Hydrate. Don't do what I do and drink this shit and stay up all night. It's not anything else. Let me give you the tip. Yes, this trial, whilst it's actually quite interesting, it's tragic, but interesting nonetheless. It's not covered by the main channels, which is fine. Oh. Yeah, you're just going to have to rest on. I know it's a pain in the ass and you want to get up and do shit. That's another reason why I was late. I started just wiping down my desk and cleaning my keyboard. Oh, I'll just move that there. I'll rearrange that. Oh, I'll put that in the drawer. Oh, that drawer's untidy. I'll clean that. Oh, okay. So I've rearranged my whole desk. And then I came and sat down after my shower to get organised. Do you think I could fucking find anything? No. Yep. So yeah, the coverage of this case has been on two smaller channels between them, not all on one and not all on the other. So this last bit came out like this morning. So there's already two bits. Like one came out, it was an hour's worth, came out 2 days ago. And then last night, another couple of hours came out, which I uploaded and put out. And then this one popped up this morning. I'm like, but that's all right. This is the last one, the last video that was put up right at the very end. The state rested and the defence began their case in chief. So this is all defence, and I'm assuming closing arguments and no doubt verdict watch. I don't think verdict watch is going to take particularly long, just quietly. Not really a great deal of a defence, in my opinion. Now, what am I doing? Oh, that's right. Yep, all good. We've got CCs up. We've got high def and full screened, unmuted. All right. So, have you seen any of this? Should we see how? Like, do you need a quick catch up? It's the CCTV footage is really nasty. Like it's gut wrenching. And on day 2, when they had the mother on, cool. And I first was watching it and I'm thinking, is that Tony crying? Like, is he really crying? Like, get yourself together, dude. And then he told her that he'd lost his son. I just burst into tears. It was awful, awful. So, yeah. He hasn't been particularly aggressive in his defense. Let's just say that. All right. Yes, so this is the defense. Share the screen, Joe. That'll help. There you go. Look at you go. And okay.
Received by us February 4th, well in compliance with the court rules. I just want to make a record. All right, the record is very quickly, Judge. I know this is driving you nuts.
Yes.
Mr. Phillips accused us 5 minutes ago of a Brady violation. I want to make a record that there is no Brady violation here. The documents he received from the lab were received by him on February 10th. His demand for discovery was filed February 3rd, received by us February 4th, well in compliance with the court rules.
Have a look at those. This happened to me the other day. The CCs are nothing to do with the trial. Nothing. The other day I was reading it and it had something to do with weight loss. And I'm like, what the hell? Yes, she should have. She should have put a towel between her legs, gone and done the right thing and apologized and taken it on the fucking chin. And yeah. Not that an apology will ever take it back, but she has shown no remorse whatsoever. Just watch these CCs and tell me if it's completely different.
I just want to make a record. All right, the record is clear. Just very quickly, is Brady says you don't have to make a demand. If you've got any evidence at all, you got to bring it. All right, we've made a record. Let's bring it.
Nothing to do with it. I can't have them on. Hang on, let me check. Subtitles. English.
May I force the podium here?
And he's only twice.
Oh, it's your witness in it. Who's in the back? Yes. Yes, we'll be here.
Oh shit, yeah. Yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen. You're stupid.
And they're trying to surmise beyond a reasonable doubt. And they're trying to throw up facts like these two
that didn't
children
fix it.
passed away at a party. Absolutely. I feel horrible. That doesn't make
Well-
somebody automatically guilty.
I don't even think that's the right one, is it? Hang on. Yeah, yes. Well, looks like we haven't got any CCs today. Sorry about that. Can't hide that extra $500 under the board. Is that a bribe, Judge? All right, let's get rid of them.
So we attempted all of that. Lastly, Judge, is a desperate means, is I had served professionally.
Bring the jury.
So if you stand right here while you're sworn in.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do, sir. Okay.
Would you state your name and spell your last name for us, please?
First name Okori, Okorie. Last name Okorocha, Okorocha.
Rocha.
Sure, this is off. Sir, how are you currently employed?
I'm a forensic toxicologist.
Okay. Can you give, by way of background to the jury, your education, formal education?
I have a bachelor's degree in biology. I have a law degree. I have a master's of science in pharmaceutical sciences with a specialization in forensic science. and I have a second master's degree in forensic toxicology.
Friggin' out.
And you currently, what is your job encompass?
Do you do dog bites?
What do you do?
The forensic toxicologist reviews the data produced by analytical instruments. In my case, it revolves around blood, breath, hair, saliva, urine testing.
And how long have you been doing that?
18 years.
And did you ever give expert testimony in a courtroom?
Yes.
Approximately how many times have you provided expert testimony?
Over 700 times in
Holy crap.
55 of the 58 California counties, 25 times in 25 different US states, and in Germany and Japan.
And were you qualified as an expert in those locations?
Yes.
And did you ever give testimony and qualified as an expert concerning any U.S. military service personnel?
Yes, in Germany and Japan.
And in what setting would have that been?
Court martials.
And what were the allegations?
One of them was that the soldier was impaired while off duty, and his foot was taken off by a train. So in order to get his benefits, we needed to establish that he wasn't in fact impaired. The second one was the Navy one in Japan. That was a breath alcohol test.
And were you qualified as an expert in those cases?
Yes.
Have you been qualified in blood testing in labs and hospitals to give testimony?
Many, many times.
In breath testing?
Yes.
In the breath testing involving alcohol?
Correct.
In chemical analysis of blood, have you been declared an expert in that area?
Yes, correct.
Approximately how many times as a chemical analysis of blood have you been qualified in a court as an expert?
I would say over 400.
When it concerns the issue of driving impairment, have you been qualified in courts on that issue?
Yes, I have.
And approximately how many times?
Several hundred.
Have you been qualified in federal court ever?
Oh, yes.
And drug use and effects, have you been qualified in that area in courts?
Yes, prescription drugs, drugs of abuse, over-the-counter drugs, drug interactions.
With regard to field sobriety tests and chemicals that may affect sobriety tests or dexterity tests, have you been qualified in that area that you've given testimony?
Yes, and I have formal education in field sobriety tests.
How long ago would have that been?
2014 or so.
And do you do updates on that?
Yes, I teach the
You
course.
teach it?
Yes.
So you teach courses in forensic and related areas?
Yes, and in field sobriety tests, blood testing, breath testing.
In what setting do you teach?
For the State Bar of California, I also teach for various criminal defense organizations.
When you say the State Bar of California, would that be that people attend that are defense attorneys and prosecutors
And judges.
and judges?
Yes.
And have you been declared an expert in forensic toxicology?
Yes.
And that's in different courts in the United States
Correct.
and in Germany and Japan, correct?
Correct.
And general technology, toxicology, you've been declared an expert, found to be an expert by a U.S. court?
Yes. General toxicology is usually it's 50 or so times. That's things that are contaminating the water or poisons and such.
Hair
Hey,
testing you've
Christine.
done?
Correct.
Pharmacology, you've been declared an expert in those fields in U.S. courts?
Correct.
And the issue of impairment by drugs or alcohol, have you been declared a expert regarding toxicology of that?
Correct. Drugs, alcohol, or alcohol and drug interactions.
And you've given expert testimony in the case of Derek Rose.
Yes. MBA.
Who's that? I'm not a sports person. Who's Derek Rose?
It was the former NBA MVP.
And did you give ever any testimony as an expert in the George Floyd case?
No, I was a consultant on the case, the civil case, which I was working on settled prior to the trial or testimony.
And as a consultant, were you asked for your expert testimony or expert advice?
Yes, and I relayed to the attorney what the attorney needed to know.
And then the last case is, it deals, it's captioned Hawaii versus Denise Dixie Villa, Villa. What was that case?
That was a baby manslaughter case involving Benadryl.
And were you qualified as an expert for the court there?
Yes,
I'm looking at your curriculum vitae, fancy word for resume, and it says you're testified in over 850 jury trials. Is that correct?
correct.
In 55 different California counties,
Yes,
24 United States federal courts.
I think he said all that.
Did you say 24 U.S.
I
courts?
think he said 25, but 25 other states.
Thank you, Judge. And you received a Master of Science in Pharmaceutical Science, specializing in forensic science from the University of Florida in 2012.
correct.
I would like to have my witness as an expert.
Judge, we want to hear you.
Yes, you may.
Mr. Okorocha?
Yes, sir.
All right. Sorry if I get that wrong. You said you have a bachelor's in biology.
Correct.
Where did you obtain that degree?
California State, Northridge,
When would that have been?
99.
And so after you graduated in 1999, did you go right to graduate school
I went to law school.
immediately? When did you start law school?
Yes, it was the fall following graduation.
So that would have been 1999.
Yes,
And when did you graduate law school?
2002.
When did you go to get your master's?
2010.
What did you do from 2002 to 2010?
I worked for the federal government, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services as a civil rights investigator, and then I worked as an attorney.
You worked as an attorney? You worked as a defense attorney?
Yes, for 3 of the 22 years I've been licensed.
Specializing in drunk driving cases, I assume?
For the 3 of the 22 years, I focused on that.
Where was that law school located?
It was in Costa Mesa, California, Orange County,
And where did you go to get your master's?
University of Florida.
So undergrad and law school in California, master's is in Florida.
Yes,
How long did you live in Florida?
I didn't live in Florida. You can do a lot of the work remotely. You take the exams and certain classes in person.
So you got your degree from an online university?
I wouldn't call it online because you're mostly doing research, but yes, it's remote.
Were you in class in person
Yes, for some of the classes.
for all of the classes?
No,
Okay. How did you do labs from California to Florida?
sorry.
How did you do your lab requirements? How did you meet lab requirements? You were living in California and your classes were in Florida.
The forensic toxicological analysis is not lab technician work. It's the analysis of the data. The laboratory technician work is simply filling up vials, putting them in a carousel and pressing a button.
Something tells me most chemists would object to that assessment, but I'll move on. The undergrad, how much lab work did you get?
General chemistry, organic chemistry, physics, microbiology, plant biology. There's more. I'm just not.
Do you work in a lab now?
I work for a lab. I'm not a technician, so I don't fill up the vials, but I analyze the data for laboratory.
What lab do you work for?
AK&A labs.
Does that lab comply with the International Organization of Standards regulations?
I'm not in charge of compliance. A lot of what I do is also reviewing things from other labs for our lab, but I don't know.
Have you ever tested blood on a gas chromatograph?
I've tested over 10,000 samples.
When did you do this?
I've worked for various labs since 2000, from 2011 up until COVID.
Do you conduct testing still?
Only if I'm covering for somebody. I'm not a technician.
Are you a certified forensic alcohol analyst?
I'm not sure what that is.
Take that as a no. Your most recent professional experience then would be from prior to COVID?
Well, my lab technician work would be prior to COVID. My most recent professional experience would be this week.
Are you a licensed toxicologist?
There are no licenses for toxicologists, at least that I'm aware of.
Is your lab that you work with accredited by anyone?
I don't know the accreditation process. We have labs we send things out to that are accredited for other things. I'm not sure what the labs are accredited for.
What did you review in preparation for today?
It's really more cross than it is for here.
I'll move on.
Hang on a second.
Have you ever testified in the state of Michigan before?
No.
What protocols govern blood collection and testing in Michigan?
I did not review the blood protocols. I reviewed the analytical chemistry data.
So you don't know what rules or policies are used and implemented in this state. Do you know who implements these policies?
No, the policies aren't relevant to what I'm analyzing.
All right. And Judge, the people object. I don't think he's qualified to testify in the state of Michigan. He doesn't even know what governs collection or testing.
All right, well, the court does determine that this witness has been qualified as an expert witness over 700 times in 25 different states, in Japan and in Germany. Has a significant education, also has a significant practical experience. Accordingly, the court does qualify this witness as an expert in forensic toxicology.
Thank you, Your Honor. May I proceed?
Yes.
Thank you. Your sir, could you, again, just say your name?
Okori Okorocha.
Okay, all right. And you reside where?
El Segundo, California. It's by Torrance, south of LA.
And you received certain records that were sent to you, is that correct, concerning this case?
Correct.
And they were more of toxicology type records and things like that, right?
Correct. Laboratory records.
All right. And you're not, a lab tech is somebody that stores, let's say, blood or accepts blood from the police department and then stores it. Is that correct?
Correct. Stores it and then tests it. No.
Okay. All right. That's a lab tech. All right. It's sort of a simple procedure. It's more simple, correct?
Yes, we have lab techs that don't have any college education, for example.
All right. And you had opportunity, your job or being an expert when you testified is to interpret the results after they've been obtained through testing devices. Would that be a fair statement?
Correct.
And that's where all of your expertise surrounds, not drawing blood or storing it, but analytical.
Correct. I am familiar with the procedures for mixing the blood once it's collected and what you're supposed to do with it once it's collected.
Okay. Well, whether there's a blood draw and placed in a vial in California or in Michigan, does it change fermentation or anything? Or it's the same blood?
Objection, Your Honor, this is a leading question.
No, I got to ask the question.
Well, the question is whether it's a leading question. Why don't you just try to look different?
Okay, all right. When you give testimony, prior to giving testimony, do you look at the toxicology reports?
Yes, and the laboratory data supporting whatever reports were generated.
Do you just look at the one page that says this is the result and that's it?
No, anyone with Microsoft Word could generate that. It's the data that supports it.
And can you inform the jury what data you looked at prior to coming to a conclusion concerning this case and this blood type?
There are various lab worksheets and then various graphs. The actual blood sample is depicted on what's called a chromatogram, which is a visual depiction of what was found in the blood.
And we did go through this with state of Michigan people that testified yesterday, but I want to ask you just to see if we're sort of on the same page of what they said. And that is when blood is extracted from an individual and it's put in a tube, let's say state police or government, or you want to preserve it or save it for testing in the future, is there a preservative that's usually mixed with it?
Yes, and nationwide, everybody uses the same tubes, the BD or Becton Dickinson, and they are supposed to be gray top tubes with preservative and anticoagulant.
Okay, and that's a private company that does that, correct?
Correct.
And it's all the same? I mean, in other words, throughout the states?
Yes.
So they have the contract with all the states as far as you know?
Apparently so, or they're the only ones that make that kind of tube. I don't know.
Okay, and that would be Michigan and California both?
Yes, or any other state.
Okay. And I don't know toxicology inside out. I didn't study it. And the jury and the judge, can you please explain what would be in this tube and what purpose does it serve?
So the potassium oxalate would act as an anticoagulant because when the blood, if it clots, the alcohol follows the water portion of the blood and not the red blood cells. So if it clots, you get a higher concentration. So you want to fend that off. Secondly, it would have sodium fluoride, which is intended to inhibit microbes such as bacteria or fungi from converting blood sugars and other substrates into alcohol. But it's an imperfect process.
Okay. And when the tube is open prior to putting the blood in,
Oh, it isn't opened. The needles.
if the needle goes in,
Mhm.
the needle is in the air, then the needle goes into this tube with a protection on it, and then blood is put in the vial, correct?
Correct. And typically for forensic purposes, you would want to wipe the top of the blood tube you're putting it in.
So you're not putting something that can be contaminated right into the blood. What would be the reason of why I was wrong? What would be the reason why you wipe it?
Because it's easy to insert microbes such as bacteria and fungi into the sample, and it doesn't take a lot of bacteria or fungi to be able to alter the sample.
I presume from what you're describing, it's very, very sensitive. You have to be very careful.
Yes, all biological samples change immediately coming out of the body. So it's just like when you buy milk at the store, you get the one with the furthest expiration date. It's stored properly, but you know it changes.
And if the blood is put in like you described into this, is it 2 vials or 1?
Most jurisdictions collect 2 vials just in case there's a problem with one because it's an imperfect process.
Okay. And once that happens, the person that draws the blood, what is supposed to be done with the tube? Just put right in the box or what?
No, the tube is supposed to be inverted approximately 8 to 11 times. So if this pen is the tube, you're going to turn it.
Record reflect that the witness is holding on to a pen that's about 8 inches long.
Yeah.
So
Right
you would
into
take the
mine?
tube, you would turn it completely upside down and then bring it back. And you're going to repeat that process 8 to 11 times.
Okay. I'm going to show you a pen, record reflect that I'm holding a pen maybe 8 inches long between my 2 fingers. And I'm going to just wiggle it back and forth and not actually turn it upside down 8 to 11 times. If I wiggled it once or twice, would that be enough to do a proper mixture of this chemical balance at the bottom of the tube?
No, not per the manufacturer guidelines. And the manufacturers have an interest in having the most robust tubes they can have. And even they say you need to go through that procedure.
And if a person does not mix it, for lack of a better word, mix it properly, this 10 or 11 or 8 or 10 times, what could happen?
The anticoagulant could not properly mix in the blood sample. And so you can have coagulation or the red blood cells clumping together. Or if the preservative is not mixed all the way through, you can have fermentation, microbes converting sugar, blood glucose and other substrates into alcohol.
And what happens when fermentation? Do you want fermentation to happen in a sample?
No, you usually do everything to prevent it.
And what's the reason why?
Well, the fermentation, you're converting blood contents that are not alcohol, such as glucose, and you're converting them into alcohol. So not only are you losing blood volume, you're increasing alcohol, which can make the blood alcohol level go up significantly.
And if it's tested after that, would the test be reliable? For
No.
measurement of alcohol in blood.
No, fermented blood would not be reliable for blood alcohol concentration.
Is there an analogy with regard to preservative or milk or anything like that? We talked for a minute today.
The preservative is imperfect, and depending on what microbes are present, there can be significant changes, but there are always going to be changes. That's why you draw it, you put it in a refrigerator freezer, because that slows down whatever biological processes are going on, and you mix it to try to control it, and then you want to test it as soon as possible.
And what does the state testified that at times the refrigerator, there's a walk-in refrigerator that samples are put in. Why is there a refrigerator? Why is there refrigeration?
Because biological processes happen a lot slower when you're in a refrigerator freezer, as opposed to heat. Heat speeds up the chemical reactions.
Would that cause a fermentation at all to speed up?
Yes, it would cause any
And,
biological process to speed up.
and fermentation, what would that do to a sample, the accuracy of the blood alcohol level?
It would make it could make it go up significantly. In one study, they found that it would go up to a 0.10 in 1 day or 24 hours.
And if the fermentation is not shaken or inverted several times, would that also affect and cause to go up much higher?
It makes it far more likely.
So if the preservative, let's just say, is not mixed properly and it's not refrigerated or kept cold, you're really going to have an inaccurate result. Would you agree?
That potential is a lot higher.
And you don't want that normally, right?
Correct.
You want people to follow the test so you have an accurate result, correct?
Correct. Proper procedures.
And these procedures are not only for California or Michigan, am I correct?
Correct. There's nationwide standards, national standards from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the Society of Forensic Toxicologists, and the American Academy of Forensic Sciences.
And are you aware of all of that? Are you aware of all that standards?
I know them pretty well. They're over probably 200 pages. So I don't know every single detail, and they go into very specific areas that I don't necessarily deal with.
There'll be no test today on that. Do you use that in your practice of analyzing data?
Yes.
And after having an opportunity to review the data that was applied to you, supplied from the prosecutor, how many pages was it?
Over 300 pages total.
Okay. And was there anything unusual when you looked at the data and you were analyzing these pages of results or raw data?
Yes.
What are you looking for to see? What would you look for in the data to make sure that the proper testing was done, or maybe it wasn't done?
Various things. In this particular case, I noted that there were other compounds in the blood sample that would not be there without fermentation.
And what would be the name of those compounds?
I'd have to look. The most significant one was acetone, which would be nail polish remover.
I know, not that nail polish remover was put in there, but is that something that's put in nail polish remover?
Yes, that's what nail polish remover is. The blood sample would have tiny amounts of these volatile organic compounds, such as acetone, and the amount of alcohol produced when even you have a tiny amount of acetone can be 10,000 times as much.
And does somebody that wants an accurate result from blood testing toxicology wants an accurate result, would they want acetone being found in their sample?
No, you would want to throw out the testing because acetone's not found in human blood.
Well, there was some testimony yesterday that you can have a little bit of acetone in the sample and it's okay.
I would strongly disagree.
Have you ever been told that it's okay to have some acetone in a blood sample and it's accurate 100%?
No, and there were other volatile organic compounds in there as well.
Where would those compounds originate that you saw? How would they originate? From what?
In a blood sample, the only way you would find them is fermentation, unless somebody put those, ran all those things in the instrument and there was a lot of contamination or something.
Unless somebody intentionally put them in, it happens through fermentation. Is that what I understand?
Yes,
And fermentation could occur non-refrigerating the sample prior to testing and/or the chemical compound inside the test tube is not shaken properly.
or it can happen even with refrigeration.
Okay. And if it's not refrigerated, would that be like an expiration date on milk, but you leave it outside and it tastes sour prior to?
Yes, correct. It would speed up
Yeah.
the expiration of the milk.
He's a bit slow on the
Well, you know,
uptake, isn't he?
expiration says, April 1st, if you left it outside in the sun prior to, expiration doesn't matter what it says, right?
Correct. All those biological processes happen a lot faster.
After analyzing the data that was supplied to you from the state toxicology department, do you think that the result that is allegedly obtained as 0.18 of that blood level, that's truly accurate?
No, because there were several volatile organic compounds present in the sample.
And all of that combines to not giving you an honest and accurate sample.
It gives you a result that is not the same as it was when the blood was drawn.
Do you know if the second sample of the vial of blood, there were two? There's
Yes.
two, right? And that's what was testified to yesterday. There's two.
It was run twice. I don't know which vial it came from, but it was run on two different, what are called columns.
Do you know if the second vial, if it was ran on that, does it show any testing on that in the records you've looked at, the second vial?
I don't know about the vials.
Okay.
I just remember the columns, and it was
Okay.
run on both columns.
That's what I was gearing the question to, that if there's two, which there was testimony of, and tests are done on one, do you know if the second test tube or vial was tested at all from looking at the reports?
Yes, there were two tests.
So each one was tested,
Correct.
or at least it looks like that?
Correct.
Okay.
Or at least two columns.
Okay, and there could be two columns in one test, correct?
There usually is two at a minimum.
And then it was described to us yesterday by a toxicologist from the state that the process is, what you said earlier, you push a button, you put the blood sample in, you push a button, and then it just operates on its own, correct?
Correct. It's completely automated. So most people would usually run it overnight so that you don't have lab personnel checking Facebook or sitting around.
And that's exactly the testimony was, that it's ran overnight, and it's approximately 7 hours. Does that sound right?
Yes.
And the toxicologists, when they're running this test, they don't have any personal involvement, or they're not touching the blood or the sample or anything. It goes into a machine to keep it as clean and impartial as possible, right?
Yes, and it's all automated.
And if somebody's at a hospital, in your opinion, professional opinion, if somebody's at a hospital, would it be more accurate testing to take their blood there and have the hospital test it than to get it, shake it, it might ferment, refrigerate, not refrigerate, wait 2-3 days, and then have it tested? Would it be better just to have the hospital more accuracy, take a blood sample right then and there?
Objection, Judge, this is a leading question.
No, it's leading, Your Honor, but I'm asking him his opinion.
I'll allow the question.
Thank you.
The hospitals have their own inaccuracies just because it's done very quickly. They can't wait 7 hours necessarily for, get test results back, because the person could be.
So, but you wouldn't have the fermentation taking place. Is that correct?
Correct. And you always want to test it as soon as possible, regardless of where you get it from.
So would it be more accurate to if the hospital do it than let something ferment?
All things being equal, yes.
Your resume, I've had marked as Exhibit 1, and I believe I'm going to move for it to be admitted, but I believe it's stipulated to already.
Defendant 1 is admitted.
Let's see, thank you. Is that true and accurate as to your?
It's admitted.
Okay, thank you, Judge.
Did you get it to my clerk, please?
And after reviewing all,
Yeah, I'm gonna, for the record, any defense exhibits should be letters. This is defendant's A is admitted.
are you marked that, Judge? Would you like? me to
I'm
mark?
changing.
All right, thank you, Judge.
Thanks.
And in your professional opinion of all your years, of all your testing that you've done, of all the cases of I don't know, 1,000 cases altogether. And all the forensics you've done, in your opinion, toxicology-wise, your professional opinion, are these with the acetone that developed a true and accurate result of the blood test?
No, and there were also other volatile organic compounds. And if we put the chromatograms up, I can point out the issue.
Okay. Do you have that at all in your laptop or anything like that?
I have them electronically in my iPad.
Your Honor, may he look at his records, please, to refresh his memory?
If that'll refresh your memory, sir.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge. Please, sir, let me know when you're done.
Okay.
Please take your time to refresh your memory fully.
Okay.
Thank you. Are you prepared now to go forward, sir?
Yes.
Okay, what are other different compounds that shows in their testing?
There is acetone and isopropanol.
Okay, that's the one I had problems pronouncing yesterday, the second one. Not that it's relevant, but tell the jury about those compounds. Are those normally in your blood?
No, you wouldn't have volatile organic compounds in human blood. Alcohol is a volatile organic compound, but the only reason you have
This
it
guy's
is if
boring
somebody
as
consumes
batshit.
alcohol.
Can I
But
fast forward?
normal human blood wouldn't have acetone and isopropanol.
And
know if
if
it's
normally you would
questions
have, because
Or
somebody
if it's
consumed
just,
alcohol,
just money. It's
um,
just boring the
would
crap
that-
out of me.
how does the fermentation affect that, or other compounds or acetone?
Well-
Whoops.
The whole purpose of the testing in toxicology in the blood testing
Ugh.
is for accuracy, correct?
Correct. Forensic testing,
What
you want
was
to get
their
it as
blood
accurate
alcohol?
as possible.
And
What we want to know.
from all your studies and all the cases you've worked on and all the cases you've testified in, are samples of blood supposed to be refrigerated?
They're supposed to immediately be put in a refrigerator freezer per the national standards and tested as soon as possible.
And the national standards go with the uniform testing kit, right? That applies. The uniform testing kit that company has a monopoly on.
Yes, the tubes.
And because somebody violates that, or a county violates that, that doesn't make it right. Is that correct? There's national standards.
Correct.
And how many times, and does that also then apply to how many times a tube should be inverted? You had said how many times?
8 to 11
That's to make sure that all that powder that's stuck on the bottom is dissolved.
is
Whatever.
mixed in with the sample.
And is it the national standards to do it this 8 or more times?
I don't know if the national standard states the amount of times or to follow the manufacturer or guidelines. I don't remember that
And
specifically.
what's the manufacturer guidelines?
The 8 to 11 times.
And do it less than that, you may not have accurate results.
Yes, per the manufacturer.
And that's because fermentation could take place.
Yes, and it can take place without, without the preservative, with the preservative.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Any cross? May I approach the witness? Yes.
I'm going to show you what is the FSD 092. This is the Michigan State Police instruction form for drawing blood.
Your Honor, may I take a look at what you're showing on the
Sure.
Thank you. Excuse me. Your Honor, I'll object because this has never been, I've never even seen something like this where I found it, and nobody's testified to it. I don't know if it's old, new, what this piece of paper is. So,
Judge, we've used it in the trial already.
Yes, and there's been testimony regarding it already. I was going to ask you if it's an exhibit. because-
We have not admitted it as exhibit, but perhaps we will. Judge.
Yeah, all right. The objection's overruled. It's clearly been testified.
Excuse me. Can you take a look at that, please? Tell me if you recognize that document.
You want me to read the back of it?
I just want you to take a look at it and tell me if you recognize it. Have you seen it before?
No.
and Your Honor, also objection because he's already had his opportunity to ask him questions at cross. Now he's going into another tangent.
You were asking about the standards. I think it's a legitimate question. The objection's overruled.
Okay,
You have not seen that document before, correct?
correct.
Okay. In the state of Michigan, we talked about actually, hold on for 1 second.
Okay.
if you would. The Michigan State Police has policies and procedures associated with blood draws in the state of Michigan, but you're not familiar with those policies and procedures, correct?
This is the Michigan State
That is
Police.
not, this is a question aside from that document.
Oh, okay.
Are you familiar with the Michigan State policies and procedures that govern drawing and testing of blood?
Not in particular, but they're pretty standardized.
Okay. The state of Michigan, through the Michigan State Police, creates blood draw kits. We've used it in court already. This is the kit. And every kit is that form. Can you tell me what number 3 on the back of that form says, please?
Slowly invert blood collection tubes enough times to distribute the sodium fluoride potassium oxalate preservative.
Enough times? Is that what it says, or does it say 8 to 11 times?
Says enough time.
It's your opinion that the Michigan State Police policy and procedure is wrong.
No, I'm saying the manufacturer tells you what enough times is.
Judge, people are going to move for admission of People's Proposed Exhibit 39. That is the FSD 093 form that has been referenced a number of times throughout the case.
Response.
Your Honor, I'll stipulate to that. I don't agree that that's proper, but I'll stipulate to that exhibit, but it doesn't meet the national standards according to my.
People's 39 is admitted.
And how much were you paid to testify today?
I was paid a retainer of $5,000 and then I had expenses.
And what were those?
Approximately 1,200 total.
So all told, about $6,200?
No, I didn't get anything other than the $5,000 retainer.
No further questions.
Redirect.
Yeah, I know.
That piece of paper that shows you, is that from the national, or excuse me, is that from the manufacturer of, is that from the manufacturer of the biological arrowhead forensics kit?
You know, those kits are made using the Becton Dickinson vial, and the Becton Dickinson vial manufacturer or guidelines tell you how much is enough to mix it.
Okay, do they just say, mix it enough, and use your own, judgment, or do they say 8 to 11
The manufacturer says 8 to 11 is required to be enough.
of inverting each test tube?
Correct.
Okay, and you're sworn to tell testimony today, you're sworn to tell the truth. Is that the absolute truth?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't have any other questions.
Any follow-ups?
Finally.
Excuse.
Yes, Your Honor.
Yes, sir. All right, thank you. Let me step down. Okay. Next witness, Mr. Bowman.
Your Honor, can I approach this for a moment? Appreciate it.
No, you may not.
Your Honor, and then I'll take exhibit that we stipulated.
In here again. You were, because of court rules allowing the same, you were able to be in the courtroom to hear defense's expert testimony. Is that right?
That is correct.
When you received the blood sample in this case, Ms. Faust, what was its condition?
The condition I would consider to be normal. As part of our checking process, we look at the samples before we test them to make sure that there isn't a large clotting issue, that everything is mixed in, all the information on it matches our system. It is part of our normal check when we test.
So was there any clotting of the blood in this case?
There was not an excessive amount of clotting that I had noted, or I would have put a note in the case record.
Okay. And what is that indicative of?
So to me, that's indicative that the sample was properly preserved because there is an anticoagulant that is in those tubes. If it had not been mixed properly, then I would have expected the blood to have clotted.
So then,
In your role as a forensic toxicologist, do you have any involvement or any opinion regarding inversion of the tubes to distribute the preservative?
I don't know if I have a lot of opinion on it. I know that as part of our practice, we do actually rock the samples before we test them as well to make sure we get a well-mixed sample for testing.
Does the lab have a policy on accepting blood samples that haven't been refrigerated?
Our policy is that we accept any samples that have been delivered to us. Our official ASB standards states that it is acceptable to send samples unrefrigerated as long as they are received within a reasonable amount of time.
And do you have a qualification for what's a reasonable amount of time?
I do not.
How long between collection and testing was the blood in this case?
In this case, I pipetted this sample less than 48 hours after it was collected.
Okay. In your opinion, would that be a reasonable time?
That is extremely fast for blood alcohol sampling.
Oh, crap. No, I didn't. I thought that was, oh, shoot. Hang on. I'm lost.
Defense's expert spent a good time speaking about.
Was that the second one he did last night? Because that was, I think, set for 10 a.m. this morning, I think. So, no, I didn't. What was it? Any good or? Because the last I looked, I know I emailed you all that it was back up again, but yeah, the last time I looked, it had been taken down. So yes, there's that. But oh shit, you stupid fucker! What are you doing? What are you doing, Jody? Like seriously? Just clicked into my stream, you know, just because I'm an idiot. Is that what we were watching?
About acetone and
Yeah.
isopropanol.
Yes.
As to did you locate any isopropanol in this sample?
No, I did not. The instrument picked up, there was a peak shape in the window, but it didn't even integrate it because it was so low, it couldn't really differentiate it from background noise.
If you could explain peak shape in the window that the instrument didn't really integrate.
So whenever you run a sample on a GC, there will be it's not a completely flat baseline. There are peaks, so like mountain shaped, and in the isopropanol window, so that time frame, there was a small blip that kind of looked peak shaped, but it was so small that it was considered insignificant by the instrument and myself as the reviewer of the data.
And I think you described the acetone that occurred in the sample as insignificant as well. Is that right?
Yes, it was slightly larger in that the peak actually met some of the quality criteria for what we call a peak, but it was still extremely small, which is why it was not reportable, and it was only integrated on 3 of the 4 results.
And the isopropanol was even smaller than that.
Yes, it was completely insignificant.
Do you have any knowledge or have you read any literature in regards to acetone naturally occurring in the body?
Yes, I have.
And what is that?
So acetone can naturally occur in the body for many reasons. One, like I mentioned yesterday, is in diabetics. If you, especially uncontrolled diabetes, you will have ketones in your system, which is one of them is acetone, and you can go into diabetic ketoacidosis, which is a high level of acetone. The fad diet, the keto diet, tries to get you into that ketosis state, and that is also will increase the amount of acetone in your system naturally. High levels of stress, pregnancy, and even a binge drinking episode can cause low levels of acetone in your blood naturally.
Or an alcoholic.
This level of acetone, would that be in line with the studies you've reviewed?
Yes, it would.
You heard defense's expert testify to a study that he was familiar with where a blood sample that started out with no alcohol was allowed to ferment and reached
I've still got saying up and coming, like it hasn't played yet. There's one that was there 2 days ago, but there's a Q&A that's starting. Yeah. Oh, it says 7th of March at 10 a.m. But it hasn't started. So unless he did it on a different channel. Was it on the truth behind the treehouse or? Yeah, well, that's the only one that's got, not on the other one. Yeah, the what? Here, I'll show you. So yeah, that one there is the one that he did the other day.
Oh, now we got people. All right. See, man. Yep, we got somebody saying hi.
But
hey, under your scars.
Is that the one that you saw? You watched 2? What? See, it's showing it's still upcoming here. I haven't got access to it. Is it live? Ah, okay. He's got another one there. So that one's obsolete. Okay, cool. I'm happy now. Oh, good. Don't mind me. Move along. Nothing to see here. Really? Oh dear. Yeah. He's working off his phone, which I don't understand because he's got a Chromebook that he was given. So he could have had a laptop for nothing. But won't go into that. There has to be, surely, some kind of support services or networking that, to help reestablish people that have been incarcerated back into community. There's got to be grants or some kind of funding or community service or something like that you'd be able to, either get a heavily discounted laptop or be able to purchase at a really cheap price, a second-hand one, perhaps. There's got to be other. Oh shit! I've been sitting on that. I've been sitting on. You haven't been listening to the stream, have you? Fuck. You can hear. I can hear it in my ears, so I assume that it's playing and having the different screens. That looks to me like it's playing, but it's not on this one, which is what you see. I think I'm going to have to allocate myself the dipshit role. We need to nominate someone from this trial as well, and I can't remember if we did one from no, we didn't do one from the last one, the nightmare, the nighttime bedtime murder trial. I don't think. I know I automatically happened to give Bev one. And did you hear that she actually granted the state's expert Crosby granted him permission to testify as an expert? If you lawyer did I think it was a 12-minute thing yesterday on comparative treatment of the state's witness and what she addressed in giving him permission, and the hoopla that she went through to allow the defence's witness, Dr. Russell. It's very, even who who is like the biggest fence sitter, he's got splinters in his butthole, actually accused her of being biased. So there you go. Controversy for you.
You just stated all these different things that have to be met regarding fermentation, correct?
Correct.
Sorry, I'm a bit distracted. I am sorting Discord shit. Okay, I'll leave that at that.
Okay. Are you able to test for that to see, is this a fermented sample or not before I test it?
No.
Or you just test it and you hope it's not fermented?
As I said before, the tubes have a preservative. There's Evidence of fermentation
I'd
can
like for you to
Hold
stick.
on a second.
Well, I want to restrict the
No, do
answer.
not interrupt her.
Okay.
physical evidence of fermentation, like the gas buildup, like I spoke of earlier, would exist. That is something we are trained to look for to prevent fermentation. But did I test for microbes? No, I did not.
Okay. That's what my question was, and I apologize, Judge, that I interrupted. And did you, when you opened the tube, did you have any type of instrument that would measure any gases that are emitted as soon as you open it?
No, I do not.
I left you a funny message in your Discord messenger chat.
Let me hand you something.
I found a new game.
Ma'am, and I just talked to the prosecutor, and I believe he doesn't object to this communication log report, which would be defendant's exhibit C.
Don't worry.
I'm going to show you it and see if you recognize
I'm
it.
fixing the
I believe it
problem.
may have been cleared from your workplace. And please take your time. And I understand it's not the full report of all the testing that was done, but I'd look for you to look at this proposed exhibit or exhibit that shows the different graphs that we talked about or you talked about. Does that look accurate?
Yes, these look like the chromatograms.
Thank you. And ma'am, do you have a copy of that with you? Or is it easier for you to just look at mine?
Today it would be easier to look at yours.
All right, thank you for.
Oh, no, I found them. Never mind.
Great, thank you. And do you see, it says upper right-hand corner, GC 19-1. It's really the second page after this page.
Yes.
All right, thank you. And it shows the acetone figure under the FID1. What's FID1 mean?
So that is our flame ion detector number 1.
Okay, and then FID2, I presume, is your second one you have.
Yes, that is the
All
second
right,
one.
I'm learning. All right, thanks. And then you have a graph on the third page, second page, that shows acetone number 2 in the FID2. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. And it shows that peak going up, correct?
Yes, the integrated acetone peak.
Thank you. And then you have GC 19-2, that page. I'm going to ask you to flip over that. And then we have on the upper right-hand corner, it says Elgin Technologies. And it says page 2 of 2 at the bottom. Do you see that one?
Yes.
All right, thank you. And you see acetone and a graph going up. Is that correct?
Yes, under FID1.
Okay. And then under number 2, you show a graph going up. Is that correct?
Correct, an integrated peak.
Okay, thank you. And that's all acetone, right?
Yes.
Okay. Then formally, I would ask to admit defendant's exhibit C.
People don't object as long as we publish to the jury. That's only a partial part of the report.
Defendant C is
what the people don't object.
It's marked, Your Honor, and I also put that on the record. It just needs a staple. All right, thanks. I don't have any other questions of this witness. Thank you, ma'am.
Hey, redirect.
Just one last question. This is just a refresher from yesterday. What was the acetone level in this sample again?
So the acetone level in 3 of the 4 detectors was 0.002.
What per?
It'd be grams per deciliter.
Okay. And in your training and experience, is that indicative of anything as it pertains to the alcohol test? The ethanol test, I should say.
No, for us, that is so small that we don't even report it.
Nothing.
Hello, is this your course?
Ma'am,
Yeah.
Sorry,
um,
I was distracted.
it's so
This,
small that you don't.
This attorney, super boring. Just, you're flogging a dead horse, mate. She was drunk. Admit it. Don't be a hank. Don't make shit up where there isn't any. Just cop it on the chin. She shouldn't have got into that fucking car and driven. She needs to be accountable. Sorry. None of this. How many times did you shake the vial? Crap.
Correct.
So we have a calibration curve, and that is how we accurately.
If I may, it's a yes or no answer.
I don't think it's a yes or no answer, so let her answer the question.
So we have a calibration curve for any compound that we can quantify and report. And our acetone calibration curve starts at a 0.01. So that is the level at which we start reporting it.
And are you aware of hospitals that they start at different levels? Are you aware? Yes or no?
Hospitals test for different reasons, so I assume their levels would be different than forensic testing.
Thank you. No other questions.
Anything else?
No, thank you.
May this witness speaks again.
She may.
Thank you very much. Any other rebuttal witnesses?
Yes, Judge.
People call Anthony Fowler.
Thinking. Hello.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth?
Did you just get my money, Missy? I wasn't going to text you at this time, but now you're here. I can ask you.
Anything but the truth?
Yes, sir.
There's some cash in your PayPal account, Dan.
State your name and spell your last name, please.
My name's Anthony Kathawa, Kathawa.
Thank you, Judge. Good morning, Mr. Fowler.
Good morning.
Are you employed?
Yes, I am.
How so?
I work at Fermi 3 Party Store, and we're in Newport, Michigan.
In Newport, Michigan?
I
Yes,
told
sir.
you not to
And
disturb
You
me.
said party store, you sell alcoholic beverages.
Yes, we do.
Sorry.
Were you employed in that role on April 20th of 2024?
Yes, I was.
And were you working that day?
Yes, I was.
What time did you go into work?
I'd like to have a sidebar, please. It's very important.
All right, people 36 is admitted.
Thank you, Judge. Can you put that on the screen, please? Mr. Casale, do you recognize that document?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And can you tell me what that is?
It is a receipt of the transaction made that day.
Can you read the date, please?
Yep. Yeah, 04/20/2024, April 4th, 2024.
And what time was this transaction made?
9:01.
Ah, look.
1 minute after.
Look. I only had one glass. I had one glass, officer. I had 2 bottles. Let's go to the pub. Really? And that's dated the 20th of April. 9 a.m. 9:01. So just after the shop opened. And then the accident happened at 3 p.m. that day.
After you opened?
Yes, sir.
All right. And what is on that receipt?
Oh, let me
It
just
is
go
a
back.
pack of 4/04/20.
Mr. Casale, do you recognize that document?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And can you tell me what that is?
It is a receipt of the transaction made that day.
Can you read the date, please?
Yep. Yeah, 04/20/2024,
Oh, so
April
she
4th,
might have-
2024.
And what time was this transaction made?
9:01.
So 1 minute after you opened?
Yes, sir.
Yeah,
All right. And
1 minute
what
after
is
you
on that
opened.
receipt?
It is a four
She's
pack of
probably
Southern Home Pinot
Mason
Grigio
at the
wine
front.
and Silver Rain Cabernet, a bottle of wine.
When you say a 4-pack of Pinot Grigio, just a few questions about that. What is Pinot Grigio? I mean, I know it's a wine. Is it red
What's
wine,
a
white
4-pack?
wine,
It is I would say a white wine. It's clear in color.
clear in color? Okay.
Yes, sir.
A 4-pack is what size approximately would those bottles be?
Honestly, so it's 187 ml. It's a really small bottle of wine.
Like
Sort of like what you would get on an airplane.
Yeah, you could say that.
Okay. It's equivalent to about 1 glass of wine each.
I am actually not sure about that.
That's fair. And then the bottle of Cabernet, that was a more traditional size bottle?
Yes, it was a regular standard bottle. I think it's 750 ml.
All right. So for my, what was it for? It was for, I think it was my monetization stream. I had a bit of a griftathon, and every $30 in super chats, I went into my Temu account, and the chat was allowed to pick what the search terms were and spend $10 in my Temu account. Pick what I had to buy, and this was one of them. And I figure there's no point hiding it. I may as well just live with it. That way, they can't take the piss because I'm already taking the piss out of myself. I got some really good stuff, actually. I got a key ring as well that you can't see it, but it's on my phone. And it says, I've got to get the terminology right because Elizabeth will kill me. Don't be a cunt cake. Oh. It's difficult to see, but yeah, that's what it says. Oh, I do. Don't you worry. Although I did wear it on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and I nearly wore it. Like I wore it backstage and went, oh crap, I'm gonna take this off. It's really comfy. It's got to be my comfiest hat. Plus, I do like it.
And is Cabernet a red wine or a white wine?
I wonder if they've got it in different colours. Might have to go back on Temu and do it. I've been hanging out to get my 1,000 subscribers and do another one. But they're going up so slow.
Is red wine.
Thank you. I don't have any further questions for this witness, Judge.
Cross? Yes, Your Honor. Oh, correct. Sir. Correct. When you open at 9 o'clock, do you have people every day come in and buy things?
Yes,
It's not unusual.
it's not.
And are you like, driven by your place? Is it like a neighborhood type place?
It is.
You get to know everybody?
Depends. Some
Or
people are in and
you
out.
get to know, you get out of town or sometimes?
Yes, we do.
And that's a truthful receipt, right? Because that's
Yes,
what
it
took
is.
place.
It is a truthful
We
receipt.
don't doubt it. Okay. And do you know those bottles, are they like little 4-pack bottles about that big?
Yeah, about that size.
Okay, they're like around that round?
Yes, they are.
All right. And people buy those sometimes? That's why
Yes.
you carry them?
Of course.
Okay. And do you remember my client coming in that day?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Did she seem like she was intoxicated at 9 in the morning?
No, she showed no signs of that intoxication.
Thank you very much. And if she
No.
did, you would be selling alcohol,
Exactly.
right?
We refuse. We have the
But
right to
10
refuse
past
to sell
9.
anybody that's intoxicated.
You might even call the police too. if
We
they
could
don't
call the
want to harm
police.
themselves. Okay. And then there was a bottle of, did you say?
It was a bottle of wine, Silver Rain Cabernet.
Okay, all right. And people bought things from, it was the lawful time to be able to buy anything for your house, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And she didn't sit there and open the bottle and start drinking in your
She did
place,
not,
right?
and we do not. condone
No,
that.
she didn't bring a
All that.
brown paper bag with her.
And she didn't sit there and go outside and start drinking a bottle of wine, did she?
I didn't go outside, so
Okay, do you have
I can
video?
tell you,
Do you have video outside?
we didn't have cameras at the time.
Okay, all right. And so, do you know where she went from there at all?
I don't.
Okay. And do you know whenever in the future that may have been consumed, whether it's that day, the next day?
I was not with
any
her.
day?
Nope,
Okay.
no clue at all.
Check
That
your
would,
rubbish bin.
You would be speculating, right? You
Yes.
don't know.
Did anyone check
All I
your
know is
rubbish
that she
bin?
purchased it for me.
Or
What she did
a
with it, I have.
And
No clue.
she presented herself very presentable and things like that.
She was.
Okay, I don't have any other questions yet.
Any redirect? No, Your Honor. All right, thank you. May this witness speak, excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate it. Thank you, brother.
Who turns up at the bottle shop at 9:01 in the morning?
Okay, I'll deputy Tyler Cradmore.
Marshella Chidester. She's not very attractive, is she?
solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony
Sorry,
you are about
that
to
came
give
out
in this matter
loud.
before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
Ridiculous.
Deputy, would you state your name and spell your last name for
What's
us?
that?
It's Alec Credmore, PREA.
Actually, Tan, I must say, your avatar stands out the most on that black background in front of everybody else's. It's awesome. First name basis with you don't drink
How
much.
are you?
Thank you.
I'm certainly not at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Oh, no, morning. It's been a long week. What do you do for a living, Deputy?
I'm a deputy sheriff with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
How long have you held that position?
Approximately 8 years on road patrol.
And what's your current assignment?
I am assigned to traffic services.
And what does traffic services do?
So traffic services is a division within the sheriff's office. I
I wonder
handle
if I could put
crashes
CCs
on
on again
road,
now.
fatals,
Let's
VIN
see.
inspections, just any traffic complaints. If somebody were to call in the dispatch and was having a traffic issue.
In your role with traffic services, did you play a role in this investigation?
Yes, I did.
What was your role?
So I responded to the scene
Oh, wait a minute.
the day that it happened on April 20th. From there, my supervisor advised to respond to Verna's and take part of that investigation.
And you did so.
Yes.
Did you do anything in regards to
I-
the defendant's 2017 Ford Edge?
Yes, I did.
What did you do in regards to that?
So on April 22nd, around 12:30, Deputy Burkhart and I responded to Jim's Towing to conduct a vehicle inspection of the 2017 Ford Edge. While there, Deputy Burkhart
There we
needed
go.
EDR, the black box, out of the vehicle. Jim's Towing employee, Forrest Peck, was removing the EDR from the
We
vehicle.
put it on before, and the CCs were telling us the weather.
And he made a discovery from the inside the
No.
vehicle.
And I'm going to show you what you
Me
brought
either.
for us in just a brown paper bag, but there's something in an
Well, I
evidence
think I might
envelope
need to.
inside.
Yes.
The NDIS getting back to me.
That it would be rebuttal, that all of a sudden it's an afterthought to find something. There's not a case in chief.
Same response to the sidebar, Judge, if you want me to make a record of it. Defense's case is that defendant only had one glass of wine that day,
Yeah.
and through some sort of chemical process that turned into a 0.18 alcohol level by the time of the crash or the draw. This is all to specifically rebut that proposition.
All right. Certainly the other testimony was, I don't know what this is yet. So
Fair
I guess we'll see.
We on
So-
rebuttal, are we?
Deputy, you were present when Forrest Peck, the tow truck driver, was removing the EDR.
Yes, while he was doing so, he located a 187 milliliter bottle of Sutter Home Chardonnay, which was turned over to me, photographed, and was placed into evidence here.
And that was located in defendant's vehicle.
Yes, in the center console.
Okay. People would move to admit the
Isn't that
bottle
illegal?
is People's Exhibit 40.
Have an open bottle of alcohol in the car?
People's 40 is admitted.
No further questions.
Cross.
Must be rebuttal. Fences crossing.
If you're done.
I'm done with it, thank you.
Sorry, I thought you wanted to extend.
No, I did, okay, thank you. Officer, do you know when that was drank?
I do not.
Okay. Do you know
The receipt
people
for
that do returnables and they have a bag of returnables and things like that? And returnables, but also recycling too. Do you know, have you ever heard of people doing that?
Yes, of people recycling plastic, yes.
All right. Do you know if my client ever was
Okay.
always recycling everything?
I do
Sort of
not.
an earth person?
I do not know.
And do you know where that plastic, is it a plastic bottle?
I
Whatever
don't
it is,
recall. I
it is.
believe so. Yes, I know it's a bottle
Do you know where that came from?
from the center console of the vehicle.
Okay. And have you ever seen any videos or photos of my client ever sitting in a car drinking?
I have
Oh
not.
my
No.
God. It's
Do you
a
ever take any recycling
good
items
inference to
to
make
be
though.
recycled, such as bottles or cans or plastics?
Me personally, I
How is it relevant?
I'll withdraw, Judge.
All right.
You're pushing shit
Have you
uphill,
ever
mate.
pulled anybody, have you been a patrol officer?
yes, for 8 years.
Okay. And have you ever pulled anybody over, investigated, and see they have returnables inside their vehicle?
I mean, I'm sure.
Relevance.
Well, I'm laying foundation if it's an unusual thing to see returnables.
I'll take the answer.
Thank you. Have you seen that before, ever?
It's a
I
good
mean,
example,
yes, I
but
have
I've drunk it.
recyclable. I have bottles in my patrol car right now. Yes.
Okay, all right. And that doesn't mean that they drink that wine right then and there or prior to, correct?
I don't have that answer.
Right, all right, okay. It would be all speculation, right? You'd be guessing.
Yes, I would be. Yes.
All right, thank you. I don't have any other questions.
Read right.
What about the receipts?
May this witness speak, excuse.
Yes, you may. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Next witness.
Thank you, Judge. At this time, people call Detective Kenneth Dodds.
I would have gone through a rubbish.
Do solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give in this matter before the court shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
It's illegal in Australia to have an open bottle of alcohol in the car, isn't it?
Detective, if you would state your name and
Are you
spell your
driving?
last name, please.
Yep, Detective Kenneth Dodds, Dodds.
Oh,
Good morning, Mr. or Detective Baz. Are you currently employed?
I am,
Where are you employed?
with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
And what is your role there?
I am currently a detective with the Monroe County Sheriff's Office.
And what training or experience do you have to have prior to being delineated as a detective with the Monroe County Sheriff's Department?
So I attended the Oakland Police Academy and graduated there in 2017. Over the course of the past 7 years, I've attended multiple investigative schools, some being basic detective school and
what about an empty
technician
one?
school.
And so I think you just answered my question, but approximately how long have you been a detective?
A detective approximately 2 years,
And how long have you been employed by the Monroe County Sheriff's Department?
7 years.
And prior to that, did you have any experience in law enforcement?
No, I did not.
So the entirety of your experience is with the Monroe County Sheriff's Department.
Yes.
Was there something as a result of your employment, were you involved in an investigation of involving the Swan Boat Club in April of 2024?
I was, yes.
What was your involvement with that case?
A couple days after the incident happened, I helped
Is my mic volume better today?
execute a search warrant on the defendant's house.
Do you recall the exact date by any chance?
I believe it was 4/22 of 2024.
So that would be April 22nd?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Detective, as a result of that investigation, or rather, what, if anything, was the Detective Bureau hoping to find or anticipating that they might find as a result of the search warrant being executed?
So through the course of our investigation, we learned that the defendant purchased alcohol prior to the crash happening. So part of the search warrant
What
was
if
to
they've got a
locate any
receipt from
evidence
that
related
morning?
to that.
The exact
And
same.
Detective, do you happen to recall what she purchased, if you can recall at all?
I don't recall exactly.
Okay. As a result of the execution of the search warrant, did you find anything relevant to that inquiry?
What?
We did it.
What if you drank half of the can 3 days ago and left it sitting in your car? I still can't prove when you drank that first half.
We located multiple
Well,
small wine
If you left half a can of alcohol in your car, you should get a ticket for wasting it.
bottles in the kitchen trash can. They were all empty. I believe they were Sutter Home brand. And we also located a couple Fireball brand.
Oh
empty
no,
bottles as well.
really?
Detective, you indicated that you kind of used your fingers to implicate. Do you recall, were they large bottles of wine? Were they small bottles of wine?
They were small bottles of wine.
Do you know how much is found within the small bottle of wine, the Sutter Home that you just mentioned?
They were empty at the time we located them.
Okay, sorry, that was not a very clear question. When you say small bottles of wine, do you recall exactly how much that particular bottle holds?
I don't recall exactly how much.
Okay, Judge, can I see Exhibit 40, please? May I approach? Thank you. Detective, I'm going to show you what has been marked as People's Exhibit 40. May I approach the witness, Your Honor?
Yes.
Thank you. Detective, can you take a look at this bottle and I suppose familiarize yourself with it and then look up at me when you are done?
Where's Una? She's a hottie.
Okay. Based off of your recollection from executing the warrant at the scene, is this similar to the bottles that you found?
Yes, this is very similar.
Okay. And can you just look on the bottle and articulate for the record how much is found within that bottle?
Looks like 187 milliliters.
Thank you. May I approach, Judge?
Yes.
Thank you. I'll take that back from you, Detective.
Thank you.
Detective, do you recall what type of wine was found, I suppose, and when I say type of wine, Chardonnay or any other type of wine was found in those bottles, or I suppose was at one point in those bottles?
I don't recall exactly what kind of wine it was. No.
Okay. Are you familiar with types of wine?
Vaguely.
Okay. Do you? That's okay. Do you withdraw your objection? Okay. Thank you very much. Yep. And Detective, you indicated there were several empty bottles of Fireball whiskey as well?
Yes.
Okay. Detective, did you find
Bottles?
any
Oh
full
my
bottles
God.
at Sutter Home of the 187 milliliters that you just indicated?
No, we found no full bottles.
Did you find any full bottles of wine within the home during the execution of your search warrant that you can recall?
Not that I can recall, no.
Thank you, Detective. That's all I have for you.
Thank you.
Now, this tragic accident happened on April 20th of 24, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you executed a search warrant at the residence of my client and her husband on what day?
The 22nd.
So 2 days later, correct?
Yes.
Okay. And my client was not at her residence during those 2 days. Do you agree with that?
She was not there at the time of the search warrant.
And was she there a day before, or was she somewhere else?
I do not know that,
You
sir.
don't know if she was arrested and in jail?
I believe she was in jail at that time.
Okay, so that means she wasn't at her residence, right? She couldn't be at a residence and in jail at the same time.
Correct.
Okay. And do you know when those bottles, those 4 little bottles, when those were drank?
No, we do not know when they were drinking.
And do you know who was residing at my client's residence when you showed up with a search warrant?
Her husband was there at the time.
do you have any reason to believe that her husband was not residing there every day for a long time prior?
No,
And do you know what he drank when he was at the house those 2 days?
no, I do not know what he drank.
All right. So you're not in front of this jury in court. You're not alleging that my client absolutely drank these 4 bottles that were purchased 2 days before, are you?
I can't say who drank those bottles, sir.
All right. I appreciate your honesty. Thank you. Now, the bottle that was found in the car, did you hear about that? That was some exhibit that was just showing you. There's like a plastic bottle. It
I'm
was showing
aware,
you.
yeah, I'm aware of the
Right.
exhibit.
Did you ever go look at the lot number on that and measure it with the lot number from the party store?
No, we did not.
I don't really know what you're referring to regarding the lot number and also.
Lot, L-O-T.
Yes, I still don't know what he's referring to regarding the lot number.
Oh.
And I don't believe that there's any testimony from Detective Dobbs regarding the lot numbers.
All right, I'll withdraw that. That's fair.
Okay.
Now, because there was no cold bottles of these wines, does that mean, when you execute a search warrant, does that mean that my client's husband could have never drank those for 2 days?
So I'm going to object to speculation. I don't really know, first of all, what the relevance of this is, but secondarily, I think he stated that most of the bottles that he found were empty, if not all bottles.
I totally agree as to the relevancy of this. I'll withdraw it.
Any redirect?
No, Judge, thank you.
It's be excused.
He may, Judge, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Judge McCall, Tech Sergeant Jeffrey Hoover.
Thomas, fair or assuring that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
I do.
And if you would state your name and spell your last name, please, Detective.
Jeff Hooper, Hooper.
Thank you, Judge. Sergeant, you testified previously that you executed a search warrant on defendant's home, is that correct?
Yes,
And when was that done?
that would have been Monday, I believe it was the 22nd
And
of April.
Sorry, you testified that you found some cameras and a DVR recording system.
Yes,
Did you find any cameras inside the home?
yes,
And how many cameras were there?
one,
Where was it located?
in the kitchen area.
In the kitchen area? Were there any recording? Were you able to locate any recordings from April 20th of 2024
Yes,
in the kitchen area camera?
yes,
And did you have a chance to review those videos?
yes.
And did you find the timestamp to be accurate on those or similar problem as the other ones?
Similar with the other one. Again, if it was an hour behind. So if it said 3 o'clock on the timestamp, it would be 2 o'clock.
Did you make a copy of these videos?
Yes,
And you viewed them, correct?
yes,
Okay. You reviewed what's purported with people's proposed exhibit 38A through 38F.
yes,
And are these all of the recordings from inside the home?
no,
Just pertinent to the case at issue?
correct.
Judge, I'm going to move to admit people's 38A through 38F.
You got a plan?
I'll move to proffer next, Judge.
All right,
All
let's do
right,
that.
can we play 38A, please? Don't play it just yet. Detective, can you, for me, tell me what the date and time is on this?
So the original date and time is 4/20 of 2024 at 8:24 and 47 seconds in the morning.
And so that would actually be what time?
9:24 and 47 seconds
AM.
a.m.
Okay, please play the video. Please play 38B. Or actually bring it up. Detective, what is the timestamp on that?
9:24 and 38 seconds a.m.
What would be the accurate time then?
10:24 and 38 seconds a.m.
Please play the exhibit. Please pull up 38C. Detective, what's the timestamp and date on this one?
9:45 and 12 seconds a.m.
Also from April 20th?
Yes,
So what is the accurate time then?
10:45 and 12 seconds a.m. on the 20th.
Please pull up 38D. Detective, what is the date timestamp on this one?
April 20th, 2024, 11:35 and 1 second a.m.
And what is the actual time, accurate time?
12:35 and 1 second, and that would be p.m.
Please put the video.
Your Honor, for the record, it's 38D.
That's correct.
Please pull up 38. Detective, what's the date timestamp on this one?
April 20th, 2024, 1:10 and 38 seconds p.m.
It says 13:10, but that is, the translation is 1:10 p.m.
I'm sorry, yes, that's military time.
Sure.
So
What is the accurate time?
that would be 14:10 and 38 seconds or 2:10 and 38 seconds p.m.
Thank you.
Your Honor, for the record, it's 38E.
He is in here.
Thank you.
Please pull up 38 now. Detective, what is the date and timestamp on this?
April 20th, 2024, 13:31 and 50 seconds or 1:31 and 50 seconds p.m.
And what is the more accurate time based on timestamp and accuracy?
It would be 14:31 and 50 seconds or 2:31 and 50 seconds p.m.
Approximately 30 minutes before the crash.
Correct.
Please play the video. Judge, the people again move to admit exhibits 38A through 38F as in Frank.
Response. Your Honor, we have no objection, just for the record, prior motion was filed prior concerning this, but no objection.
People's 38A through F narrowed.
I have no further questions for this witness, Judge.
Cross?
Officer, did you, were you ever inside my client's home prior to the date you executed the warrant?
No,
And when you obtained this videotape, you obtained the contents of the videotape, correct? Or the video machine or recording machine?
yes,
Okay, with this search warrant, right?
yes,
Okay. Did my client participate in you going through, well, you had a chance to go through and look at hours of videotape, correct?
correct.
And he didn't stop you at all from taking the videotape. You asked for it, and he showed you where it was, and he gave it to you, correct? My client's husband.
Correct.
Okay. And you didn't have him come to your office and go through the videotape from start to finish to confirm that that's the videotape, no editing, no nothing, that it's the full videotape. Did you ever have him come do that?
He did not come to my office, no.
But you never went through the entire videotape with him prior to you starting to edit and show certain fragments today, correct? He didn't participate in editing this, correct?
It's not edited. It's just the videos were taken off of the DVR.
Okay. If the DVR has 6 hours of recording and you take 2 or 3 spots, segments, that would be editing, right? Because it's like taking a police report and putting black certain parts.
I can't say one way or another. I don't believe
Is that
so.
the full videotape?
Is that the full contents of?
Hey, hang on a second, ask him a question, you talk over.
You're right, Judge.
That is not the full contents of all the video for that day. No.
And who decided to participate in, for lack of a better word, editing or picking which versions and how they were obtained? Who did that? Did you do that? Did an IT person do it?
No, I looked through all the video footage.
And you picked those to bring to court today, right?
I notified the prosecutor's office of my findings.
Okay. And your job is to participate in people that are arrested and participate in coming to court and participate in getting convictions. Do you agree with that? You're not here.
The question is argumentative.
That's not argumentative. How's that argumentative, Judge?
Your job is in getting convictions.
Well, what's he doing here today? Is he working for me and saying
I
she's
think what he's
innocent?
doing is telling the truth.
Okay.
That's his
That's a
job,
bit
so
spicy.
in that regard, the objection is sustained.
Okay. Do you come to court to testify in criminal cases in your history of being a police officer to prove the innocence of the accused?
The same objection, Judge.
It applies.
All right, thank you. I'll withdraw, Judge.
Any more redirect?
Briefly, Judge. Detective, you said there are other videos of this, correct?
Yes,
Do they present as one long 6-hour video or however long?
they do not.
How do they appear on the system?
So on the system, they are motion activated. So each time it triggers, it creates a new video. So for that complete day, on that DVR of all 4 cameras, I believe roughly approximately 460 video clips.
They're all short
They're
video
all,
clips?
absolutely all short, maybe a minute long.
You didn't edit down a longer video into short clips.
No,
This is how they came to you.
yes,
Did you make any alterations to the videos?
no,
Nothing further, Judge.
Detective, you're not showing any videos from 6 in the morning, am I correct?
correct.
And there were activated videos, motion activated from, let's say, 6 in the morning, do you think? Or is this the only time that she walked around?
No, there were other videos of her walking around.
No other questions?
All right, may this witness speak to you.
Yes, Judge.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next witness.
Judge, we want no further witnesses with rest our rebuttal.
Here's what we're gonna do, ladies and gentlemen, we're gonna take a short break, like about a 10-minute break.
People of the state of Michigan versus Marshella Chidester.
Ow. How long have we got left of this? About an hour.
All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. You may be seated. Ready to make your closing statement? Yes, sir. Thank you.
Good morning again, ladies and gentlemen. I know it's been a long 4 days. We appreciate your patience and your attentiveness. You've now seen all the evidence and heard all the testimony that you're going to hear in this case. I told you at opening that I'd come back here at closing, and go over the
Closing
evidence
arguments.
with you. There are some photos that the people did not show during the case in chief. Those will go back with you into the jury room. If you feel like those will be helpful in rendering your verdict, you're free to look through them and review them. The same with the defendant's interview. The people did not play that in their case in chief. The defense didn't elect to play it. I think the parties all felt it didn't move the needle too much one way or the other, but you're also going to be free to view that back in the jury room. So what has the evidence in this case shown? It showed that Diane Medina, Leah Stith, Ed Smothers, Jaden Phillips, and Mariah Dodds were all injured as a result of the defendant's operation of the motor vehicle. We could bring up the jury instruction on OWI causing serious impairment. And you'll have this written back in the jury room. But the injuries being the result of the operation of a motor vehicle is one of the elements you need to find. That is not in dispute. The defendant was the factual and proximate cause of those victims' injuries. Further, those injuries rose to the level necessary under the law for you to find that element in counts 5 through 9. This is actually stipulated to by the parties. In other words, we agree the degree of injury is not in dispute. Further, you could bring up OWI causing death. The evidence shows that Zayn and Alanah Phillips died as a result of the defendant driving that day. Their death was a factual and proximate result of her operation of the motor vehicle. They do not dispute this. You did not hear from a medical examiner because the parties agree that that was the cause and manner of death. It is not in dispute. The defendant's willful operation of the motor vehicle is not in dispute. The parties agree. We all saw the video of her leave her house and get in her car.
Judge, I agree that there's willful use of an automobile. I just said we agree on willful.
No, fair enough. I guess.
I agree there was an automobile accident. It's proximate cause of a horrible thing of injuries and deaths.
All right, your objection is fine.
People offer to you that the proof show that the defendant willfully operated the motor vehicle on the date in question. You all saw the video of her get into her vehicle and drive it away from her home. We think that element is met. Her identity as the driver of the vehicle is not in dispute. People would offer that there are two key elements in this case that are in dispute. The defendant's blood alcohol concentration and her intent when she crashed into the Swan Boat Club. As to the BAC, the blood alcohol concentration, you've heard from several credible, experienced, and dedicated professionals about the level of care and the quality that was taken with defendant's blood draw and the subsequent testing. You heard from Deputy Schmidt, who was able to walk you through the blood draw process and confirm that everything was done according to proper and long practice procedure. You heard from Rome Monday, the phlebotomist, who testified she had conducted thousands of blood draws in her career. And she also told you she followed the correct, proper, and accepted procedures. Former Deputy Krieger, Lab Technician Hopner testified. They both told you that not only were the policies and procedures followed, but they went above and beyond. That typically a blood sample would be dropped in the mail. This one was hand delivered.
One of the witnesses yesterday was it yesterday on day one, had the funniest name. Or was it? It's the one I'm doing, presentation I'm doing at the moment. Maybe it is.
By Deputy, the Michigan State Police Crime Lab. Finally, our two experts in forensic
Spoiler
toxicology,
alert.
Tabitha Faust and Samantha Beecham, testified the procedure for testing the blood and their results. Their results, that the defendant's blood was a 0.18, more than twice the legal limit for regular OWI and exceeding the limit for high BAC OWI. Further, there was the presence of gabapentin in her blood.
That will affect it.
But this is disputed. So what can you folks do? What other evidence can you look at to support the expert's evidence of the blood draw? First, you can look at the testimony from the first day of Ms. Sigler and Mr. Wickland. Ms. Sigler testified that she smelled alcohol on the defendant immediately after the crash. Mr. Wickland flat out called her drunk when he helped pull her out from behind the wheel of the car. He further testified he smelled alcohol on her as well. Deputy Karina said she smelled of alcohol, and Deputy Schmidt went through the field sobriety testing with you. In his opinion, she failed field sobriety testing. But how else do we know the blood alcohol result was accurate? We know because she told us. We could bring up the first clip from Deputy Karina.
2 times, 0 being like you're so full sober you can drive perfectly.
Yeah, she said she was at level 7.
Where do you think you're at right now? 7.
Yeah.
What else supports it?
I'm
When they tested her blood, they found
having had a
gabapentin.
cold. I drink too
What
much.
did she tell us about her gabapentin?
Run through the medications that you told me about again.
Gabapentin,
When do you take your medications today?
8 o'clock.
8 a.m.?
Yeah.
Oh,
And how do we know she had more than the one drink at Furnace? It's well established in the evidence, and I don't think either side disputes. She left Furnace at the latest at 12:15. Crash was at 3:01.
Okay, I'm back.
But remember what she told Sergeant Bomeo.
a little bit. A little bit, yeah. When was the last time you had something to drink? Probably half an hour ago.
And just today, you heard from the clerk at Fermi 3, and you saw the video from inside the defendant's house. It's true that she had 1 glass of wine at Furnace. That doesn't speak to the rest of the day. All of those other pieces of evidence that I just talked about, just showed you, work together to show beyond a reasonable doubt that the drink at Furnace wasn't her first or her last drink of the day. It's similar to the mystery story I mentioned to you in voir dire, that all of the evidence lines up to show one result, except one thing. And that one thing is defense's expert. But everything else works to show that the BAC result is accurate and in line with what she did that day. The second element that people believe are in dispute is the defendant's intent. We bring up the second-degree murder instruction. For the OWI causing death and the OWI causing serious impairment, you only have to find willful operation of the vehicle and that her blood alcohol exceeded the legal limit, or that she was intoxicated, or that she was impaired by alcohol and gabapentin. For the people's first 2 counts, the 2 counts of murder in the second degree, you have to find a separate intent. You can find one of 3 kinds of intent to find the defendant guilty of second-degree murder. You can find that she intended to kill. You can find that she intended to do great bodily harm. Or you can find she knowingly created a very high risk of death or great bodily harm, knowing that death or such harm would be the likely result of her actions. As we talked about in the opening statements, you can look at what she said, you can look at what she did, and all the evidence and circumstances surrounding this case that you've heard over the last 3.5 days to decide what her intent was. You can think about her driving toward the boat club, straight as an arrow, right between those 2 telephone poles. You can think about what she said to Kristen Sigler right after the crash. Where's Don? She wanted to know where her husband was. You can think about her crashing into the neighbor's truck. And then continuing on her way. At the moment she crashed into that truck, she had to know things were not right, but she continued on. She continued on at full speed and drove her car into a 3-year-old's birthday party, into a building, a route that she knew very, very well. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not a typical drunk driving crash, not at all. She didn't cross a center line and strike oncoming traffic. She didn't misjudge a red light and rear end someone. At almost 45 miles an hour, she drove through the wall of a building that she had been to countless times. That's what makes this worse than OWI causing death alone. She drove her car into an occupied building knowing she was unfit to operate a vehicle. And if she didn't know she was unfit to drive when she got behind the wheel, she knew it after she hit her neighbor's truck. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 44.3 miles an hour on a dusty, pitted dirt road. Look at all those things to determine her intent. As most criminal trials are, the focus of this trial has mostly been on the defendant. How she drove, the contents of her blood, and her state of mind. But let's not forget, a trial is about a fair trial for the defendant and for the victims. The ones you heard testify and the ones you couldn't hear testify. It's about an 8-year-old big sister and her little brother. 2 little kids that had just sat down to eat their hot dog and a cake pop at a birthday party. Sat down to have some lunch without a care in the world. They didn't have a chance. It's about justice for these 2 kids. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Willis. Thank you. This is the law in Michigan says that the plaintiff, the prosecution has the burden of proof. That's why they get to go first. That's why the defense goes second, because they don't have to prove anything. These people have to prove everything, every element beyond a reasonable doubt. And then because they have such a high burden to prove their case, they get to go first for a closing argument, that's what this is called. And then I do my closing argument as a defense. And then because they have such a high burden of beyond a reasonable doubt, they get to go again. They get to go last. So, and it's sort of common sense. We can't keep going on and on for many days. So they stop it there at the law. So they get to go first, then we go, and then they get to have closing argument the last. And sometimes what happens is that they'll do their closing argument, and then they'll say something that I can't rebut or I can't stand up and talk like I am right now. I'm going to be doing with what they mentioned. So I ask all of you, when you go into the jury room to deliberate, think about what Bill Clovis would have said. Think of how I would have countered anything if they're holding anything for their last time to talk to you and I have to just sit there. This case, I don't have to tell you, it's very, very it's very sad. It's very, very sad. And the facts of 2 children passing away, as a prosecutor said, in a setting like this is just beyond grief. And that's why I took a moment out, maybe took my attorney jacket off, so to speak, and really gave sympathy to mom. I give sympathy to all of them. I don't want anybody hurt. I don't have vindictiveness. My client doesn't. And I gave my sympathy. And it's normally out of line to do that. And I'm glad the judge and prosecutor allowed me for a minute to do that because I just had to get that off my chest or myself because I can't talk to the witnesses here when we're in court. And they don't have to talk to me at all. It's very, very sad. And, you know, I'm taking a little bit longer in a closing argument today than I normally do when I have a trial or I'm involved in a trial. Because there are several counts. Well, first, all due respect to everybody injured and the poor little kids. I show them respect. And that's why I want to just talk to you. I'm not making things up. You know, so many times, you know, attorneys, people raise their eyes or look up when you say attorney or attorney jokes and that. There ain't no joke in here. And I'm a real deal. When I talk to you, I'm not making anything up. Certainly, it's up to you. You're collectively the judge of the facts, all of you. And I respect that. And my client respects that. That's our American jurisprudence, our American law, is that we have, if you're charged with a felony, especially a capital felony, 12 jurors decide the case. So the judge certainly has been very nice and will release one person, and the clerk will. And then the 12 of you, whomever you may be, will deliberate and rule on the case as a judge of facts. Of course, the most serious part of this case is second-degree murder. Murder charge, don't get no more serious than that, at least in Michigan. A murder charge. And to me, in the law, is that for somebody can get charged every day for whatever. somebody to be convicted of murder, whether it be second-degree murder, there's an intent. There has to be an intent or intentional, like recklessness. To me, that's intent. Okay. If I'm driving down the street on the freeway and Bill Clovis never had a heart attack and I have a heart attack and somebody's changing their tire and my car hits them and they die, there's not much intent there. I had a heart attack. What do you want me to do? I apologize. Everything that happened, but please don't charge me with murder. Okay. And that's our first part of the poor 2 children that died. And my client, actions speak louder than words. My client, the officer says, in effect, had no record. Well, nothing.
Objection, Judge. I think he's arguing facts, not evidence.
Well, I thought I asked the officer with regard to record. If I didn't, the jury heard me not ask him that.
All right, we'll allow it, but it's
Thank you.
a close call.
Thank you. This person doesn't drive around committing crimes. Here's this person that went to lunch. Well, let me back up. I want to address everything they brought up. But it's interesting that some of the things they brought up was not what they call a case in chief. In other words, when you present a case, the prosecutor, you put everything up there.
I absolutely 100% agree, Celestial Force, but obviously you didn't see the start of this trial. Yeah. They have CCTV footage of her coming out of her home, walking, stumbling to the car, getting in the car, putting it in reverse. She got about 5 foot out of the driveway and then pedal to the metal, reversed into another car, didn't stop, put it in drive, took off like a bat out of hell. 500 meters later, she hits this boathouse and kills 2 children. Because when she hit the first car, when she was reversing, airbags got deployed and the car recorder started. Event detection recorder, or EDR. She did not stop accelerating at all. There was no time at all that she put her foot. Well, there was 1 second she must have just quickly tapped it, but she was still accelerating for the 5 seconds before impact. She's claiming that she had a seizure, but you don't have a seizure, reverse into a vehicle and then change gears and put it in drive and drive away. Sorry. It doesn't happen. Yeah, sorry. She's as guilty as... Yeah, no worries, sweetheart. It's, I did a, like a case overview at the start, and it's in day 1 anyway. You'll see them all, but it's horrific. It shows every angle from both outside the building, from the neighbour's house, from inside the building, with the CCTV footage from inside showing the car coming in, and yeah, and the carnage afterwards. So just trigger warning. She should never have gotten to trial at all.
Then the defense puts, if there's any evidence they want or whatever to counter it or bolster their defense, then they go up there. That's how it's done. Then they waited and did some rebuttal and pulled things out of wherever. Why did they bring that in case in chief? If it's so true and so positive.
Something for rebuttal?
Is it lawful? Yes, they can do that in rebuttal. But think about common sense.
That's the whole point of rebuttal.
You don't, a lot of times judges will tell juries, you don't leave your common sense outside. You leave your bias and prejudice outside, but not your common sense.
Exactly. That's why when you have a receipt for 5 bottles of wine at 9:01 that morning, and there's an empty one in that center console, just because no one saw her drink it doesn't mean she didn't.
You can have your common sense when you're in the room. That's what we all have, our life histories that we bring. That's why I like to have a little bit older jurors, because they've experienced life histories. And they can judge things because they've lived some life. And you can use that. You just can't have prejudice or bias. You can't have that. Somebody sitting at defense table, they're guilty. Prosecution prosecuted my brother. I don't like prosecutors and police. No, can't do that.
Innocent
You got to start
until
with a clean
guilty.
slate. Just as if somebody, anybody, family member,
No.
whatever, is being charged with something. You wanted to have just a fair, clean slate you start with. That's why I asked in the very beginning.
Until you watch that video, yeah.
There's nothing been said. How would you find the person? Sometimes people say, well, they're charged guilty.
Poor mother was in a coma. She was that badly injured. She lost 2 children, and her 3rd child was airlifted to another hospital. She couldn't see him because he had so many fractures. The last child, she had 3. 2 of them went that day. Sorry, not good enough. This woman shouldn't have had a license. If she was having seizures, she shouldn't have had a license.
No, not in America. They didn't put any proofs on it. They got to prove their case beyond a reasonable doubt. Every element.
And they have.
With regard to going, and they held for a rebuttal, this Fermi 3 or whatever party store, corner store, and there's this, she bought some stuff for the house, some wine and
some stuff for the house, was it?
Whatever,
Not a
soda or
liver,
whatever.
just the house.
There's nothing illegal about that.
Exactly.
When she went in there, I asked, is she sober? Is she okay? Yes. Would you
Yep,
sell to somebody
I
else?
called for
No,
this.
thank God, I like to hear that. And okay, so
Right
we've got
there.
that they brought, and then we've got her going at 11 o'clock to
You might need
Furnace
to
Tavern.
watch it on this one, I think,
Okay.
actually. Hang on.
Did she drive there okay?
Where is
Yes. She had an accident. She turned the corner, go down the road, country road, veer to the right.
For a while.
Everything Okay.
Yes.
Looks like it
Touche. Mm-mm. 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 Mm-mm.
Yeah, but also the officers aren't telling us. They're telling us anything. They went and looked at something she bought at 9 o'clock or 9:05 in the morning. So, okay.
Yeah.
So if it doesn't exist, that's a positive for my client.
We didn't
Remember
see any
that.
doctor's
We're going to
record.
bring up every negative there could be with a microscope.
I have a
That's why
banana,
that's
sorry.
We're going to bring up positive or talk about their negative, credibility wise. So, okay, so then she drove at about 11 o'clock to Vernon's to meet 2 friends for lunch. She says a sandwich. They say no. Sandwich, you'll see the receipt as an exhibit. Take a look at it. Looks like my client had a better memory on the food part. And so she had the chicken chili or whatever. And she also had 1 glass of wine. And Verna, the person, Kelly Ford, that came here, and I'm told that she's like really a peppy person, but she was very sick that day. And, you know, she was, and it showed. She did not feel good. And I'm glad she showed under subpoena. And she testified that she was sober. When she came in, she was sober. So if the prosecution.
I've created for the presentations that I'm going to be starting to do, I have created a new segment. Yep. You want to see? It's called Let's Get All Up in Show Business. Let's all get up in. Stop. Go back to start. And play. Let's all get up in show business. Yep. New segment. Look out for it. It's coming your way.
She's trying to say that she guzzled all these drinks and then went in there. You're wrong. Actions speak louder than words. You can talk all day long. Prosecution wasn't there. The police weren't there. All they're doing is surmising. And they're trying to surmise beyond a reasonable doubt. And they're trying to throw out facts like these 2 children passed away at a party. Absolutely. I feel horrible. That doesn't make somebody automatically guilty. You have to prove it. We don't go by emotions. So she comes in. The testimony of Kelly Ford is she's sober when she comes in. It's just normal.
You're an
She
alcoholic.
met friends, had lunch, had 1 glass of wine. Any other wine? No. Anything else to drink? Water. Okay. And the bill, she got the bill. They each got individual bills, whatever was paid by credit card. Thank God. There's a record of it. Exactly what my client said. And when I first met my client, she said, I had one glass of wine, Bill, at Verna's, when we were at Verna's, because I said, what did you have at Verna's? She said, one glass of wine. And, you know, as a defense attorney, you sort of, you listen to clients, but until it's backed up with something, either paper or something, you don't automatically, I hear it. I keep it in my head, I hear it. And then when I see the search warrant that they immediately used, closed it off, nobody allowed in immediately, because she told them, I went to Verna's, where were you before? Verna's. They went there, they use a search warrant immediately, and they get the receipt. And you'll see that's one of my exhibits. I only have like 3 exhibits, A, B, and C. I keep it simple. And that's one of the exhibits. If you take a look at the defense exhibits, got a little delta or a D.
That's because you've got nothing else to view.
And so that lines up perfect. She's trained, she said, for 20 years. She has regarding alcohol and looking, observing, and the effects of alcohol and seeing if somebody might be under the influence, not to serve them. And she didn't. And she felt she was totally fine.
Well, she'd lose her
She
license,
left, was
wouldn't
she
she?
fine? Okay. What did she buy? What did she drink extra? Nothing.
Responsible service of
Okay,
alcohol.
so we know that's solid. We know that before 11, it's solid sober. Then we know at
No, we don't.
12:15 when she left, solid sober.
No, we don't.
In America, in Michigan, you're allowed to have a glass of wine. You're allowed to have a glass of wine. And she ate.
So the 0.18 BAC just miraculously appeared out of nowhere, did it? Just poof.
Okay. And she just miraculously was able to drive home and go through the country road and branch off and turn and take the angle and do all that,
Yeah, 'cause
not
you
get
left the
stopped,
bottles in the
not
fridge.
have a collision, not fall off
Going home for a
the
dinner.
road and go into, you know, areas that are not the paved road. And she was able to park her car. These are all things of sobriety. So we look at. Wasn't parked on an angle. She didn't hit people
But when
coming
she
home,
left,
hit people, the neighbor. So then she gets home. She's home for a couple hours, let's say 12:15. She goes up to the birthday party at 3:02 or thereabouts. She was leaving 3:01 in the afternoon. So 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, about 2.5 hours. Then they
And how much
say
wine did
there
you
are
polish
proofs, well, and they wait, that video, they wait until rebuttal.
don't forget, what time was the bloods taken? A couple of hours after that, after the incident, at least. So at point of impact, she would have been well above that.
At their case in chief. So I don't know what was in their mind. That's up to you. I don't know if they thought that maybe it's not as strong or doesn't make sense, but they waited till rebuttal. That's up to you. That's your area.
Yeah, because that was the kicker.
Okay, it's all about credibility. And so that's when they bring up and say, well, look,
They brought the receipts,
look at what we
didn't you?
found. Look at what, you know, we got a video here. Let's call, you know, the officer back up here and
What?
talk about a video that shows that she's walking.
What? What do you mean? Can you not see the video? Really? We take it off and add it again. How about now? Yeah, the video's on stage. Can you see it now? Ah, I just took it off and put it back on again. Sorry, doll. I'll go back a little bit so you can hear what he was bullshitting on about. Because yeah,
That I hear. And then when I see the search warrant that they immediately used, closed it off, nobody allowed in immediately, because she told them, I went to Verna's, where were you before? Verna's. They went there, they use a search warrant immediately, and they get the receipt. And you'll see that's one of my exhibits. I only have like 3 exhibits, A, B, and C. I keep it simple. And that's
You
one of
show
the
it on my
exhibits.
screen,
If you
sorry.
take a look at the defense exhibits, got a little delta or a D, law school, that's what we use.
did you see my business intro? Maybe that's what stopped it.
And so that lines up perfect. She's trained, she said, for 20 years. She has regarding alcohol and looking, observing, and the effects of alcohol and seeing if somebody might be under the influence, not to serve them. And she didn't. And she felt she was totally fine.
So did you actually see the video of the intro that I put up or not? No? Yes? Anyone?
When she left, was she fine? Okay. What did she buy? What did she drink extra? Nothing. Okay. So we know that's solid. We know that before 11, it's solid sober. Then we know at 12:15 when she left, solid sober.
No, we don't.
In America, in Michigan, you're allowed to have a glass of wine. You're allowed to have a glass of wine. And she ate. Okay. And she just miraculously was able to drive home and go through the country road and branch off and turn and take the angle and do all that, not get stopped, not have a collision, not fall off the road and go into, areas that are not the paved road. And she was able to park her car. These are all things of sobriety. So we look at it. Wasn't parked on an angle. She didn't hit people coming home, hit people, the neighbor.
Okay.
So then she gets home. She's home for a couple hours, let's say 12:15.
Down
She
to
goes up to the birthday
couples.
party at 3:02 or thereabouts. She was leaving 3:01 in the afternoon. So 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, about 2.5 hours. Then they say there are proofs, and they wait that video. They wait until rebuttal in their case in chief. So I don't know if they.
Oh,
I don't
I
know
waited
what's
till
in their mind.
rebuttal
It's
to
up to
show
you.
the
I don't
receipts
know if
for
they
the
thought
pub.
that maybe it's not as strong or doesn't make sense, but they waited till rebuttal. It's up to you. That's your area. That's your bailiwick. Okay? It's all about credibility. And so that's when they bring up and say, well, look at what we found. Look at what, we got a video here. Let's call, the officer back up here and talk about a video that shows that she's walking around. Okay? She's got that, whatever. And, maybe she's drinking. Okay? All right? And then she's not falling down. She's not tripping. She's not dropping things. But, maybe she's under the influence. Well, maybes don't convict. Maybes not beyond a reasonable doubt. We don't do that here in America, maybes. We don't send somebody away. Murder too.
We don't ignore
Maybe.
blood alcohol concentration
Maybe.
levels
Okay.
either.
So then this collision happens. And you say, you know what? That was just crazy. Okay. You're right. It was crazy and completely out of character. Somebody's never had anything. And that makes me think that something neurological, that there's been talk.
Yeah, neurological for sure.
And
Central nervous system.
that she went back while driving out of the driveway and went in reverse. She hit, and then hitting, the arm came back and went full speed ahead.
Really?
And there's
You kidding me? Did you hear that? Was it a manual or an automatic car? Does anyone remember? They're saying that the impact of her reversing and hitting the other car jolted her arm and put it into drive. I'm sorry, but this has to happen. Sorry.
saying the prosecution for a murder too, that she intentionally did this, that she had this intent, this reckless intent to kill somebody.
She had recklessness for
Okay.
sure.
Former comedy.
She had disregard.
Reckless intent to kill someone. I swear, and I swear, there's no intent to kill anybody, much less two
What
little
does reckless
kids.
disregard for human life?
There's no intent to hurt anybody. Why would you put it to the floor? Why would that person testify that it's brake and gas for a second there? Both. Where'd that come from? So, when I'm working on this, I put a lot of days and hours in. When I'm working on this at my office, I'm looking at just don't make sense. Out of nowhere, somebody's going to put it to the floor. Somebody's going to put it to the floor and go right into a building that's 450 feet from her house. She's a former Commodore. She lives on the street, lived on the street forever, married, whatever, long time. So they're
equipment that Judge Nichols says.
Good. If people don't understand, the court reporter has more power than the judge. Because when that goes out, the judge has to stop shit. That's true. I know. That's why we treat them with great respect. This sort of lost me for a second. Put it to the floor. And she's going to, they would say, is that she intentionally caused this recklessness. She intentionally wanted to go into the building. I don't know where that comes from. I have no idea. Yes, I understand what the video shows, but an intent to do that, that's insane. That's crazy, with all due respect. So then, while I'm working at my office and I'm going through things, we start getting voluminous records. And, you were told it was, I thought it was 200 pages, but he says more like 300 pages, of going through all the records with the state of Michigan and their history and their certification of the machine and this and that. And also all the records of acetone and all the other things that show up. And it's interesting that, and this is real pivotal part of the case, is you want that blood to be as pure as humanly possible for testing. Why? You got murder too, 2 charges. You have other charges that are extremely serious, under the influence causing serious injury. These are all very serious charges, very serious felonies. So you want everything right on the money, absolutely as perfect as human can be. So why would I not? Doesn't cost a penny, and you do it every day with drunk drivers. As a road patrol officer, why wouldn't you take him to the station? Get a breathalyzer flown. It's also closer in time. Have that done. Doesn't cost anything. Then you got the data master, whatever they were using back then, the breathalyzer. Okay, you got those results. They print out right then and there, not an hour, right then and there, immediately when you're blowing. 2, to confirm the first. If they're too far off, a 3rd. Why would you not want to do that? Number 1, you've got fatality. Okay. Number 2 is, why wouldn't you do, and he talked about a urine test. I'm not saying you got to do one of those, but at least a breath test, but you could do a urine too. That's what the law says. That's what that DI 177 that he talked about, that he read, which means the right to refuse it, but you can take all these things. My client says, yes, sign. You don't even need a warrant. They got one anyway. I'll sign. You can take whatever blood you want for testing. Does somebody guilty do that? Does somebody feel guilty do that? Somebody's scared and they're under the influence. Do you do that? And I'm talking about to be a 1-8. Does somebody sign and say no? Or yeah, go ahead and take my blood or my urine or whatever? No, I don't think so. Again, we can use our common sense on this. So they do that and they wait, I said, a couple days and take it to Lansing. And then I'm very thankful they have a video of the person drawing the blood. And you know what? That speaks for itself. All of you saw that. And that's why there's 12 ultimately, because sometimes you catch something somebody else didn't catch or whatever and talk about it. And what's really great is you can ask for those videos from the bailiff to the judge for any of those videos. And they'll be, the judge put together very nice.
All right. Reckless disregard. It's somewhat redundant legal term that's used in many courts to discuss the intent of a person who is charged with a crime. Intent has to be established in order for a criminal case to be successfully prosecuted. And one of the ways to establish this is to propose that a person was reckless. They can also have done something purposefully, negligently, or knowingly. Each description means slightly different things. When someone acts with reckless disregard, they commit an act they know is probably illegal and that could harm people, but they don't have an actual intent to harm a person or people. The idea of reckless disregard can be a bit confusing. If a person behaves recklessly disregarding the law, there's a clear inference that he might harm others. The drunk driver who climbs into a car could be accused of behaving recklessly, for example. The driver doesn't want to hurt anyone, but the very fact that he is drunk makes that scenario much more likely. It's sometimes argued that the drunk person is acting in a knowing or purposeful way, because most reasonable people are aware that the incidence of car accidents increases when people are driving in an intoxicated state. Still, the basic intent is to drive the car. Though this breaks many laws, it's not to kill someone with the car. Therefore, it may pass the test of being considered reckless disregard. Yet, this does not mean that the drunk driver is any less culpable. that someone is behaving recklessly can be used as a defense against crime. A small reckless act might have some weight when a person receives a sentence, but most reckless acts, especially reckless disregard for human life, are treated abhorrently by the court. No court wants to hear the tragic case that involves death or suffering of others when such acts could have been prevented. Reckless disregard may establish that a person did not have specific intent to harm, and this might suggest different charges. Murdering several people on purpose and murdering them recklessly could look very different. It depends from jurisdiction and regional laws. Usually the person acting with reckless disregard knows that he or she is breaking the law and may possibly be endangering others. The test of knowing is usually based on what the courts think a reasonable person could have concluded in the situation about their actions. Being reckless is the opposite of being reasonable, and the tendency towards reckless behaviour that is criminal is ultimately an affront to society and worthy of prosecution. Right.
Exhibit list of the video, so you don't have to look at all videos. You can pick out what you want to see, which is good. And so you'll be able to see, did she shake it? Did she invert it 10 times? Because it doesn't cost anything to invert it more than once or twice. But I sort of, with all due respect, I sort of got the gist from her that she was okay with the prosecution, but if I started asking her anything, it sort of went downhill the attitude-wise. I don't know why, but I have no idea. I thought I treated her very nice. But it just seemed like she was not happy to be here.
What are you blubbering on about now?
All I did was ask a simple question. But that's up to you to judge that, because you can judge credibility, attitude, truthfulness. You can do all that. That's what you are. And so when I started asking her, well, whatever, and she said a few times whatever, and then I said, well, the video showed one or two, it was done. And wasn't even done like that. She said, yeah. Okay, so, sort of truth serum comes out when you tell somebody, well, there's a video and it says this. What do you think? Well, again,
yeah,
it was one or
like
two.
the video of a car
So
driving recklessly.
That's done, and the preservative is extremely important. Why am I hitting this so much? Because that's their case. Again, that's why I said, why not take a breathalyzer? And that. Nobody says not to do blood. If you're going to do blood, do it correctly. It's very important. So it sounds like she does, like she said, hundreds or thousands or whatever it was, and she just, it's another day here, whatever. Well, there's 2 murder, 2 charges, by the way. So that's done. It's packaged, and it's driven up a couple days later, whatever it is. And it's tested. And testing it, and they agreed. The toxicologists or whatever said, your test results are only as good as what you're testing. If it's polluted or it's not good, then your results are not good. Yes, they can come in all day long and give sworn testimony and say, it was a 0.18. I don't doubt that. I don't doubt that was the result. But how did you get the result? Was there a problem with the fermentation?
Nice.
And something that really sticks out, other than, well, you didn't shake it, so there was fermentation, and here's Bill Clovis, he's coming up with something off the wall, that it's too many maybes there, and it won't overcome beyond a reasonable doubt. No. We've got proof positive, very thankful, that they have proof positive of a graft. I want you to take a look at, I believe it's Defendant's Exhibit C. I believe it's C. I only have 3. So take a look at that, and it'll show that it's more than a little bump. Take a look at it and see if it goes up like this. Acetone, that gas came out. And then they'd have you believe that the state of Michigan says it's okay to have acetone. It's all right, that commercial cleaner. A little bit of that doesn't hurt you. Insane. And we come up with something better than that. But it's okay. Nobody gets hurt by that. Oh, okay. Have you done ever testing on live human beings with acetone? I don't expect they have, at least this generation. So acetone, and then my person, who to me came across very professional, very, in my opinion, you're the judging on the credibility of people. But
you're not doing them any favors.
He was credible. He wasn't sarcastic. No matter if the prosecution or myself asked questions, he was honest. And acetone, he said, nail polish remover. That's what acetone is made up of, industrial solvent. And what happens is nobody says anybody put that in the blood sample, but it occurs through fermentation. It occurs that way, or something was polluted. The needle, before it went in there, had something, a microbe or whatever. We don't know. But I don't care how it got there. It shouldn't be there. It shouldn't be there at all. And if it's there, it just spoiled the results. These results are supposed to be positive and clean and accurate. You know, accurate, in my opinion, you're the finders of fact. Accurate, in my opinion, accurate is out of 100%. You can get it up to like 95. That's accurate. You start going below that, there's a problem there about accuracy. It's not a 51%. To me, that's not accurate. Okay. Again, we draw it back to murder 2. 2 charges of murder 2. And operating under the influence causing death. And operating under the influence of causing serious injuries. Counts there. Alcohol has to be right on the money. And I know I repeat a couple things just because of the seriousness of this case. Please excuse me. Where's the breathalyzer? Wouldn't have cost anything. Wouldn't have it been amazing if the breathalyzer said 0.01 or 0.02 and they're claiming 0.18? Boy, they'd have a lot of questions to answer. But you know what? The less testing you do, the less tests you have, the less defense attorneys have questions to. Right? Right. So we don't want to have too much. Plus, remember, they're the ones in charge. You can't say, you know what? I want to go here. I want to go to a doctor. I want to have this or that. You can't say that. Why didn't they have the hospital do it? They had insurance. Why didn't they have the hospital draw some blood? Just for the heck of it. They have to worry about transportation, fermentation, nothing. Boom, it's done. Oh, by the way, I forgot about refrigeration. And it's supposed to be refrigerated. Might have an expiration date, but milk does too. And if you put it outside, not refrigerate, guess what? Who cares about the expiration date? It's spoiled. Spoiled milk is the fermented. That's literally, it causes curds and stuff. I left some too long in my office and it stunk up the office and the refrigerator. Baking soda had to be put in. So, you know, fermentation is a very strong animal. It's very strong and it's aggressive. And you don't want that because you've got all these serious charges, including murder 2. I want to know, if I was on a jury, that everything is properly done and there's no question whatsoever. And beyond a reasonable doubt, it's pretty close to that. That where we're at is that there's no question that it's there. All the elements are there. Everything was done properly. If things were not done properly, please don't feel that the seriousness of what occurred, I can't say not guilty. That's not fair. No. That's not what the law says. The law says for you to do your job, do your duty as a citizen, as a sworn-in juror. And that is, if you feel that somebody's not guilty of all the elements and the people have not proven it beyond a reasonable doubt, all the elements crystal clear, then your duty is to say not guilty. And you say, oh my God, these people are going to be mad or they're going to say this. No, you don't do that. In America, you rule, just like the judge has been ruling. He rules. You rule too when you deliberate. Please. Your decision is going to affect my client's life.
Well, we've got about
And
5 minutes of this left, and
I know
then
by looking at all of you, and I've had a few trials over the years,
then we'll go straight
that
to
you've
the
taken
verdict.
this very, very serious.
Go for it.
Very serious. And I truly mean that, or else I wouldn't say it. I've had a few juries, and actually, honest to God, some people will start nodding out. They'll start going to sleep. And it's like, I got to speak real loud to wake them back up from over here. And that's sad. That's really sad. And this was supposed to be a long trial initially. You know, picking a jury, you don't know if it's going to be 3 hours or 3 days. And we moved along very well. Everybody came across very honest. I think that's how we were able to do it. Plus, the judge is really good, if you haven't noticed, about keeping us reined in and moving the case along. I love that he starts at 8 o'clock, because I've been in other courts that say 8:30 and they show up at 11, the judge. So this one I can count on. That door is going to open at 8. And that's good, because it's taken a lot of time out of all of our lives, but more importantly, we do this for a living, out of your life. And I truly want to say thank you. And I truly say thank you for being here, for
Can't blow any more
uprooting
smoke
your
up their
whole
arse,
lives. I don't care if people are retired at home, you're still uprooting your life. And lastly is that we've put such a heavy burden on you. We have a very heavy burden on you when you make your decision. However you make your decision, I will respect it. But you've got a heavy burden and everybody has to go on living. But I want to thank you
Except those
again
two poor kids.
for taking the time out to be here. There's areas I didn't cover just because you listened to everything. You saw everything, the testimony, videos, exhibits. So I'm not going to go through every single piece. I've gone through enough, but it's my one time. I don't get a second time. If he does go up, Mr. Lorraine or whomever, please try to think what Bill Clovis or the defense would say in counter it. Okay. Thank you very much again. I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Council. Brief rebuttal. Absolutely.
And right there, Tricia, can you not pick the difference in caliber of attorney between Action Jackson and Mr. Big here?
Folks, I don't have a long pre-planned rebuttal or anything like that. I'm sure you're happy to hear that. Just like to hit on some things Mr. Clovis spoke about in his closing. Why didn't
Why are
we
you
play
standing
those
with your
videos
arms
and
like
bring the
that?
Fermi clerk on before rebuttal? Because that's not how the prosecutor's office proved drunk driving. We proved drunk driving through the blood result. Once Mr. Clovis wanted to challenge that, I have what I believe to be other evidence of alcohol consumption. I'm going to play that for him. I'm going to show that to you. If he hadn't presented a case, I wouldn't have presented that evidence because I had a blood result. I agree with him that actions do speak louder than words. Her actions at Vernus. But that's the testimony of a waitress who saw her for a minute at 11 o'clock. I think she testified about 3 times that she did not see her leave. Countered with the testimony of a bartender who saw her immediately after the crash, and 2 police officers who dealt with her. Police officers specifically trained in spotting alcohol consumption. I also agree with Mr. Clovis that maybes don't convict. They do not. But you know what does? Lab results, videos, injured people, and deceased victims. The intent in this case was sealed. The second she put that car back in drive and continued down the road. He characterized it as intentional recklessness, but it's exactly what is written in the jury instruction. And look at that. It is creating a situation. Once she starts to back out of her driveway with that blood alcohol content, that's the beginning of it. If she had run someone over right then and there, that's OWI causing death. What she did, that's second-degree murder. She knew from that second she was dangerous. She was in a situation where she was creating a high risk of death, and she continued on anyway.
And she didn't care.
Mr. Clovis talked a little bit about beyond a reasonable doubt. The judge will explain to you what beyond a reasonable doubt is. What the jury instruction says is it's a doubt that grows out of reason and common sense. It's a doubt that grows out of the evidence or the lack thereof. So again, as I did in my opening statement, on behalf of the victims, on behalf of the people of the state of Michigan, when you go back in to deliberate, I ask you to look at everything, speak amongst yourselves, deliberate as you see fit. And when you're finished, find this defendant guilty of 2 counts of second-degree murder, 2 counts of OWI causing death, and 5 counts of OWI causing serious impairment. Thank you, folks.
All right, let's go.
Closing arguments are underway in the trial against Marshella Chidester. The 67-year-old is charged with second
with that verdict, guilty on all counts. Take a look at some video. Of course, this was
Holy crap. Stop. Freaking hell. Okay. Now,
deliberated for less than 2 hours, coming back with that verdict, guilty on all counts. Take a look at some video. Of course, this was in court yesterday. They went into deliberations around 2 o'clock, 2:30. Definitely a very emotional day. And as you said, this happened last year. This Monroe County woman drove straight into a kid's birthday party, driving approximately 45 miles per hour with a blood alcohol content of 0.18. She had been drinking prior to the accident, or crash, I should say, at a bar. She had 1 glass of wine there, but detectives proved that she drank beforehand and after. So throughout the day, starting around 9:30 in the morning, all the way until that crash, which was after 3 o'clock that day, killing 2 young children, Zayn and Alanah, and of course, injuring their mom, their older brother, and several other people. This is what the 2 younger children's dad had to say. Take a listen.
After I leave here, I'm going to their gravesite and let them know how today went. I will never get peace. I never will find peace with this. I believe it does close the chapter on this whole trial that's been done. I believe that when I look back at it, everything that came out, I believe that it was right. I believe everything is good.
Now, Chidester was remanded to the Monroe County Jail. Now, initially after this happened, she was arrested. She was in jail, but then she was able to get out. She posted bond. So she's been out for the past year almost. But of course, now in jail, and then she will await her sentencing, which is scheduled for May 15th.
There you go. All right. Now, there was another video that I just saw before this one.
Deliberated for less than 2 hours, coming back with that.
Now, where did I see it? It's just popped up again now. Guilty on all charges. There was a video of inside her house. Where did I see it? Here, I think. Nope. Maybe it was court. Nope. Where the freak did I see it? Come on, it was just here. Two. Was it? Yes. There we go.
Sergeant.
All right. Share this tab instead. There we go.
You testified previously that you executed a search warrant on defendant's home. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when was that to proffer next, Judge?
All right, let's do that.
Can we play 38A, please? 1 second, don't play it just yet. Detective, can you, for me, tell me what the date and time is on this?
So the original date and time is 4/20 of 2024 at 8:24 and 47 seconds in the morning.
And so that would.
I'm going to capture this and I'm going to zoom in on it and see if I can find any bottles. Where is it? Okay. All right.
Actually be what time?
9:24 and 47 seconds.
AM.
AM.
Okay. Please play the video.
Oh. Well, I've got these things again. What the fuck?
Please play 38B. or I should bring it up. Detective, what is the timestamp on that?
9:24 and 38 seconds AM.
What would be the accurate time then?
10:24 and 38 seconds AM.
Please play the exhibit.
So she's a smoker too. The ashtrays on the table.
Please pull up 38C. Detective, what's the timestamp and date on this one?
9:45 and 12 seconds AM.
Also from April 20th?
Yes.
So what is the accurate time then?
10:45 and 12 seconds AM on the 20th.
The bottle of wine. You had that little bottle of wine empty in the hand. 9:45 in the morning. Another one.
Please pull up 38D. Detective, what is the date and timestamp on this one?
April 20th, 2024, 11:35 and 1 second AM.
And what is the actual
This
time?
is just
accurate
before
time?
she goes out for lunch.
12:35 and 1 second, and that would be PM.
Please put the video.
Your Honor, for the record, this is 38D.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Got another bottle in her hand. See, left hand. Yeah. I'll put it most likely at the front door.
Please pull up 38. Detective, what is the date and timestamp on this one?
April 20th, 2024, 1:10 and 38 seconds PM.
Home.
It says 13:10, but that is,
From lunch.
the translation is 1:10 PM.
I'm sorry, yes, that's military time.
Sure.
So one,
What is the accurate time?
that would be 14:10 and 38 seconds or 2:10 and 38 seconds PM.
Thank you, Jim.
Your Honor, for the record, this is 38E.
He is in here.
Thank you.
Box in her hand. Another glass. Glass of wine. Red wine. What the hell took them 2 hours?
Please pull up 38F. Detective, what is the date and timestamp on this?
April 20th, 2024, 13:31 and 50 seconds or 1:31 and 50 seconds PM.
And what is the more accurate time based on timestamp and accuracy?
It would be 14:31 and 50 seconds or 2:31 and 50 seconds PM.
Approximately 30 minutes before the crash.
Correct.
Please play the video.
And she was probably going to the bottle shop, truth be told. Oh, glass empty, is it? Uh-huh. Yep. There's a bottle on the bench there. Let's cover up. Oh. Are you shitting me? Are you shitting me? And she looked her attorney in the eye and said, I only had one drink. So she was drinking from 9:30 in the morning.
Judge, people again move to admit exhibits
Oh, there's more?
38A through 38F as in Frank.
Response. Your Honor, we have no objection, just for the record, prior motion that was filed prior concerning this, but no objection.
People's 38A through F, they are admitted.
I have no further questions for this witness, Judge.
Cross?
That's fucked. No, I hope not. That's fucking disgusting.
Officer, did you,
And he's going on about bubbles in a
were you
fucking
ever
jar.
inside my client's
You don't
home
need a BAC for that.
prior to the date you executed the warrant?
No.
And when you obtained this videotape, you obtained the contents of the videotape, correct? Or the video machine or recording machine?
Yes.
Okay, with this search warrant, right?
Yes.
Okay. Did my client participate in you going through, well, you had a chance to go through and look at hours of videotape, correct?
Correct.
And he didn't stop you at all from taking the videotape. You asked for it, and he showed you where it was, and he gave it to you, correct? My client's husband.
Correct.
Okay. And you didn't have him come to your office and go through the videotape from start to finish to confirm that that's the videotape, no editing, no nothing, that it's the full videotape. Did you ever have him come do that?
He did not come to my office, no.
But you never went through the entire videotape with him prior to you starting to edit and show certain fragments today, correct? He didn't participate in editing this, correct?
It's not edited. It's just the videos were taken off of the DVR.
Okay. If the DVR has 6 hours of recording and you take 2 or 3 spots, segments, that would be editing, right? Because it's like taking a police report and putting black certain parts.
I can't say one way or another. I don't believe
Is that
so.
the full videotape?
Is that the full
Full
contents
videotape
of?
full-
Hang on a second, ask him a question.
Okay.
Talk over.
Not
You're right.
relevant.
That is not the full contents of all the video for that day. No.
And who decided to participate in, for lack of a better word, editing or picking which versions and how they were obtained?
What the fuck?
Who did that? Did you do that? Did an IT person do it?
No, I looked through all the video footage.
And you picked those to bring to court today, right?
Yeah. They're relevant.
I notified the prosecutor's office of my findings.
Okay. And your job is to participate in people that are arrested and participate in coming to court and participate in getting convictions. Do you agree with that? You're not here.
I'm getting the truth out.
That's not argumentative. How's that argumentative, Judge?
Your job is in getting convictions.
Well, what's he doing here today? Is he working for me and saying
I
she's
think what he's
innocent?
doing is telling the truth.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's his job. So in that regard, the
I
objection
missed that bit.
is sustained.
Okay.
Oh, that's gold. Well, I'm sorry, I missed that bit. I heard the spicy bit, but I wasn't listening, obviously. So there you have it. Yeah. Throw away that key. Mofos, throw away that key. So, for those that have just joined us, Marshella, guilty as charged on all counts. She'll be sentenced on the 15th of May. Hopefully they are consecutive and not concurrent. And she has a tendency to sleep on her belly with a celly. Yep. I'm going to have to cut that bit out and put it in a short. That's gold. He's in the business of telling the truth. Can I I'm going to do something really, really funny. Yep, you wait for it. Stay tuned. It's gold. Oh, my noggin's evil. All right, well, I'm going to keep continuing working on my next presentation. What's today? Oh, it's Friday, isn't it? Friday. We have a new trial starting on Monday. Hopefully it's you weren't here last week, Tricia, on Monday or the week before. I had a trial set ready to go Monday, had it all prepped, had all my research, had the thumbnail up. I had it up for 3 days before the actual stream. I had overlay, I had everything organized. About 2 hours before I went live, Steve messaged me on Facebook and said, that trial's out of Maryland in Baltimore. They don't normally live stream, even though I got the details from Court TV. Sure as shit. So I went to Plan B, which was this one. And it was a choice of this one or the judge. And I'd swiped left on both of them. So, yeah. So I set up for this one, started streaming. Shit. They're doing jury instructions. Not jury selection. Fuck. So I had to set up for a third stream. And just covered the Brian Walsh hearing, which was really crap. But yeah, that was my Monday. So hopefully next Monday we have, actually, do I have a sneak peek on this one? This is the, let me have a look. I might have a little tidbit for you. Little bit of a tit. Let me go to my channel. My playlists. All right. I think this is the one. Yes, the Connecticut killer. All right, let me put a teaser on. Oops. All right. Full screen and why is it? Okay.
Just your reaction. I'm myself and the family are content with going to trial because now we can prove that Jose committed the crime, and there will be justice for my sister-in-law, Christine. It's very emotional. It's been a long 4.5 years to get to this point. There is family members that have liked to speak their mind today to the court, but we knew going in there was a possibility that we didn't have that opportunity.
Were you ever given the specifics of what the proposal was from the state or the counteroffer?
I can't speak on that. That has to come from the state.
What, when you say family members would have liked to speak today?
We have family members from Nashville that are here today, from Philly. that have come out to support the family.
Did you expect that there was going?
Our top story tonight, 4.5 years after an Ansonia mom's murder.
Oh, yeah.
Her alleged killer will head to trial. This comes after Jose Morales did not take a plea deal today. News 12 Connecticut's Marissa Alter reports from Milford Superior Court.
Jose Morales walked into court smiling and waved at the judge. His behavior just added to the continued frustration felt by the family of Christine Holloway.
That's part of the anger, because he, in his mind, and I already know, he thinks he's going to get away with it.
It will now be up to a jury to decide whether Jose Morales killed the mother of his infant child. In December 2019, Ansonia police discovered Christine Holloway beaten to death inside her home and no sign of 1-year-old Vanessa Morales. Jose Morales is suspected in his daughter's disappearance, but has only been charged with Holloway's murder. On Tuesday, the judge put the case on the trial list after both sides couldn't agree on a plea deal. Details of the offer weren't made public.
Myself and the family are content with going to trial.
Yeah.
Because now.
All right. So that's next week's, starting Monday. I believe that jury selection was done a couple of weeks ago, so that's good. So stay tuned for that one. Hopefully that's not going to be a shit show on Monday like it was last week. Now, Mr. Udaher, I have a proposition for you. Should you choose to accept it? Oh, Vinny. He's interviewing a juror. All right. So, I was. No, you're not in trouble. Not at all. No. No, I was just thinking the other day, I'm like, this trial's going to go on for how long? At least 4 weeks. Are we gonna get at it every day for 4 weeks? Because I don't know if I've got it in me. So I've come up with a potential solution. Now, whilst we don't agree on guilt or innocence, that's neither here nor there. What I thought we could do, because I know I can appreciate, I can give credit where credit's due. So what I thought we could do, watching that hearing yesterday, especially towards the end, the actual caliber of lawyering in this case is phenomenal. All right, I might not agree with his tactics or the way he goes about it, but it's bringing out that it's fireworks between these two. And I think we approach this trial on just not evaluating, but like just being, what do you call it? Can't think of the words. Appreciative of the level and the caliber of lawyers in the argument and the argument itself. Like, I think that might be a really good approach when it comes to time to trial, because I think we're in for fireworks big time. I really do. And I think we've seen little hints of it. And yes. Yeah, focus on the lawyers' arguments and their strategies and what they're doing and whether that was a good point or, like, because you compare, even just in looking in these motion hearings, there is no comparison between him and Lally at all. Yes. Yes. And I think it'll be a wicked showdown, if not like between these two, because they're both alphas. They both won't back down. They'll double down. And I think we're in for, and I know that sounds awful because there's someone's life at stake here, but I think if we approach it like that, then we're not going to be wanting to strangle each other after 4 weeks. How does that sound? That fair? Virtual shape. And then we'll have to come up with a a reward at the end for the winner. Did you see the get up? Did you see the verdict on the DUI trial? I hadn't actually seen the footage. I must have been daydreaming. But they had a video of her before and well, they had in rebuttal. All right. So in rebuttal, the state brings out a receipt. 9:01 a.m. that day, the day of the incident, she's at the bottle shop, and she bought the little 130 ml bottles of wine and a normal size bottle of wine. But I only had one drink. So they had testimony that she only did have one drink at the bar. And so, yeah, the rebuttal brings out this, the receipt of the wine. They find one of them empty in the center console. And then they have the ultimate self-snitch. She's got internal CCTV footage of her consuming alcohol both before and after, right up until 2:30. Before, she refills her last glass at 2:30, and she heads out at 3 p.m. Yeah. Apparently, it was under 2 hours. I don't even know what. It took them longer than half an hour. They probably had to go to the toilet and have something to eat and fill out the paperwork. Yeah. So she's charged with 2 counts of second degree. And I can't remember how many counts of intent and injury or something like that. Yeah. So I hope she gets consecutive sentences, because she should not have been able to go to trial. The defense was trying to say that she was in the middle of a seizure, and when she backed out and hit that car, that jolted her arm and put the car into drive. Fuck me. Be interesting to see if it was actually a manual. Anywho, so that's it for that trial. That worked out quite well, actually. It was just stupid because it wasn't streamed on a big channel. It was bits and pieces here and there, so I apologize. So day 3 has 3 parts to it. Just a pure absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. Yes. Yes. And, the testimony of the bar, of the waitress in the bar, if she says, oh, no, she was pissed, well, responsible service of alcohol out the door. And if you're a seasoned drinker, which she obviously is, you can feign sober like nothing else. And her BAC was 1.18, and that was taken how many hours after the incident? So she was way on the way down. Yeah, she deserves to be stood in a boat club and have a car driven at her. Sorry. See, this is where I reckon if you're that's awful, like the old eye for an eye, if you're found guilty for whatever heinous act, then that's the way that you should be treated. Anyway, I will be putting out one more presentation over the weekend. I'm trialing doing a bit of a storytelling true crime thing. So I found a case from start to finish, and I'll just do a from start to finish overall description of it, and I've created a new segment. Did you see my video before, Tricia? So the new channel segment is called, and this is where I'm going to put all the presentations of like different true crime incidents and stories and stuff. So it's called Let's All Get Up in Show Business. This is my intro. Let's all get up in show business. I know, I'm an idiot. And I think my my catchphrase for the introduction will be something like, "Oh, let's dissect this case," or something like show business style, or let's something like that. Let's chop it up, shall we? I know, I'm sick, but I amuse myself. Have you missed me, Tricia? Oh dear. All right, so yes, I'll put that the first piece of show business out this weekend. I should put some. Oh, I should put that in my merch. Make a T-shirt out of it. Let's all get up in show business. I'll get a hat. Oh Christ! Yep, it's nearly 5 a.m. Okay. I shall be looking at you within at least 2 more sleeps. You have yourselves a fantastic weekend. It's going to be warm here. It's been warm all week. I will be watering my garden because we haven't had any rain for so long. Yeah. So, with that, I look forward to seeing you Monday. Don't be good. Be good at it. Bye-bye.
Hey there, thanks for stopping in. We hope you will join us again. We all look forward to next time. We get to talk about true crime. Clues. Justice served in an honest fight. True crime tales till the verdict's right. Solving more than just trivial quests, where sentences rule and the defense rests. Our true crime family is great. All types of topics we debate. Smash that like and ring that bell. Hit subscribe, you might as well.